Welcome, connoisseurs of fine common cardboard, to today's live stream. I'm so pleased to have you with us here today. And with us, of course, we are blessed with the presence of Derek, my good friend here and co-host of many of these Let's Build episodes. How you doing today,
Yeah,
Derek?
thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I am doing great. Yeah, ready
awesome.
to go. This is a really great commander this week, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, we're stoked. This is one we've had quite a bit of interesting dialogue on. It's another one where I'm going to be eating crow a little bit here, but this is going to become a common pattern, which is as the format diversifies and our ideas about what is competitive in the format expands, some of the preconceived notions that we may have learned through experience or through prejudice, whatever it is, about what is good and what isn't is going to start to collapse. And that's kind of one of the things we like to do on this show is to take those notions and demolish
Yeah,
them publicly and in your and in perfect plain sight for everybody to see. So this is one we've talked about quite a bit. Dragon's Rage Channeler. And one that I think for 1v1, I think nobody would question this commander.
right.
But
Yeah.
uh, increasingly, as I experimented with certain like heuristics, starting to explore other one mana commanders, I think it was Thrall Parasite
Yeah.
that really got me thinking. It's like this thing happens every turn on
Yeah.
every game turn one, and the consistency that's impressive. And but furthermore, even though we're mono red, the hypothesis here being that the surveilling off of all of our spells is going to just really make sure the top of our deck is a great spell. So, without getting too much into the details of our Let's Build here, I just want to thank everybody for coming out and joining us. Let me know in the chat below if you can hear our audio, if it's coming through clear, if you can hear Derek, if you can hear I.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did want to start the stream off also by giving a huge shout out to the patrons that support and make this content possible. So I'm going to shout you out by name right now. We got Zach, Scooby, Chris, Tristan, William, Paul, Corey, Derek, of course,
That's me.
Devin, that's you. Yeah. We've got Ian, Bobby, Jin Shooting Star, and Noyark. So special thank you to all the patrons who make this content possible. There's a great post on Twitter by the Playing with Power crew talking about valuing your time, and it was a huge change for me when I started to do that, to put a price on that, and suddenly there were like 13 people that wanted to support Clay and I and what we do. So with that said,
Yeah.
Derek, you were really enthusiastic about DARCY. And so when we
Yeah,
first
I
looked
think
at
this
this,
starts
we
great.
said, yeah, what, 99 flaring pains,
We have a good
call it
draft
a
here, I
day.
think, a good starting
Yeah,
point.
yeah. This is where the deck needs to be right here. We just have
Yep.
every every card in the deck is a flashback spell.
Yeah. No protection from red's gonna get around our spells. No fogs are gonna stop our
Never.
3/3 flyer delirium creature. We're just gonna, cruise to victory on the back of all the damage happening every turn.
Yep, that's right. That's exactly right. So, what was it that inspired you with DARCY when you first looked at Dragon's Rage Channeler, also known as DARCY, DRC?
Yeah.
What kind of what sent you in this direction?
So there's a couple things specifically. The first, like you alluded to earlier, like one mana commanders are it's a really intriguing space to be in. Because as everybody knows in Pauper Commander, like so much of what you're doing revolves around what your commander does, right?
Mm,
Like it really sets the kind of the tack of your deck. So when you're able to play it out on turn one and start that immediately, you don't have to set anything up. You just have your thing and you just start going. It gives you a really kind of valuable yet somewhat unintuitive and intangible like tempo advantage over your
mm-hmm,
opponents.
mm-hmm.
Um, and Dragon Rage Channeler in Mono Red specifically gives you a lot of opportunities to kind of fight through Red's lack of traditional card advantage
Mm-hmm.
by controlling the top of your deck and making your draw steps matter.
Yeah.
Like the central idea behind how I've been approaching it is it doesn't matter how many cards you're drawing if like half of them you can't use effectively.
Yeah.
And so the idea with this commander is to just control the top of your deck effectively enough to where your average card quality that you're drawing every turn is going to be higher than that of your opponents and kind of like muscle through that way. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that, which is why this is a really fascinating commander. And it's just like a really great aggressive creature because you're surveilling so much that you're just going to passively make it a 3/3 flyer, which is just a really great consistent source of damage. Evasion's really important right now in the format, as things become more combat centric. Like, so I think just having a 3/3 for 1 mana out of the command zone is very recastable. There's a lot of ways to mitigate, having to do that. Lots of great ways to give it haste. Lots of good spells at cantrip that give it haste, for example, that you can look at. There's a lot of things you can do to just keep it coming back for more and just keep that advantage coming. It's really, really robust commander.
Yeah, no kidding. When we were first looking at the R2 lists, and I actually have my own DARCY list here in paper. This was for 1v1 PDC. It was actually I was playing PDC with slightly different rules here. We were exploring doing 60 card PDC. And we kind of came out with the same concept. I think we ended up doing 20 life, no commander damage, 60 card. Just a kind of an exploration, almost
That's
like
cool.
like Brawl kind of.
Yeah,
And
that's neat.
and so we did a little bit of that. So I had a Baleful Strix and I had this. And then you've got yours as well. And when we started looking
Yeah.
at the differences between our decks, there's a lot of cards that are playable in this deck. This is kind of like Conclave Mentor a bit, right? Where you might initially look at it and say, well, how many good cards are there actually for this deck? And
Yeah,
it's a lot.
you look at a card like this, and the first thing you think about is things like Young Pyromancer, like that red niche of like whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, do this. But importantly, Dragon's Channeler is non-creature spell, so you have a lot more breadth with which to operate. For example, like my predilections with this commander is to go in a much more artifact-centric way, because you can mine a ton of synergies there and just kind of tie everything together. Not only are you like controlling your draw steps a lot better, but like your cards connect better so that you have a lot more flexibility in the cards you are drawing. Like, you're not locked into like very specific things off the top of your deck. You have things that play together very well. So I think a good mix of both is appropriate. Obviously you want like cheap, efficient things to keep the triggers coming, but you also want to be able to like be doing something on the battlefield.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good way to put it. And there's, sorry if y'all are seeing a little jumping around there, got a little interface funkiness, but basically, like, with the artifacts are going to give us a great card type to put into the graveyard, along with lands and creatures and things like that. There's also the avenue to of you've got all these artifacts that might be equipments, and that's like another form of resource advantage. And if you've been on these streams long enough, you've probably heard Derek and I start to beat the drum about this word resource advantage. And it's a bit of semantics, but when people talk about card advantage, it's a bit exclusionary of all these other ways that you can generate progress in your game. It might be that you have an activated ability. It might be that you are making a bunch of mana rocks, like with Great Desert Prospector. That's a form of resource advantage that does not translate to cards, but it's still good. And in this case, the resource advantage is actually even more nuanced. It's to say that we don't draw anything that we don't want to draw. We're always going to be converting cards off the top or looking at cards at the top and ensuring whether it's something that we actually want or not. That full or very robust control of the top deck is a form of resource advantage that I think is going to be really strong. So,
and just like to give it some context, like I've been playing a very, very rough list that is hardly optimized for anything whatsoever. It just kind of is a bunch of ideas throwing it at the wall. And like once I get up to like 5-6 lands, they just all go in the graveyard. And it feels great to do.
Yeah, it's super strong. I mean, I've been playing with a card called Burning Prophet.
Card's busted. Oh, it's great in this deck. One of my favorite cards.
Yeah, Burning Prophet is just like a form of prowess, but it scries every time you cast a non-creature spell. And boy, it is nuts. I played a game on stream.
When you can layer your triggers like that, it's very, very powerful.
Yeah, the last game I played with TPI on stream, I had, or Third Path Iconoclast. Sometimes I abbreviate it. I had Burning Prophet in play along with 2 pingers, and I was cantripping like crazy. I was drawing all these cards, and every time it was like land to the top, it was land to the bottom. I didn't, and when I was drawing all these cards, I was never drawing anything that I couldn't use. It was all usable stuff, and the whole deck is built around creatures that ping or effects that ping, and then just non-creature
And those cards
spells.
are all very good here too.
Yeah.
And like the fact that you have a 1 mana commander that just like lets you do that really important part of what Burning Prophet does. Like
Yeah.
clearly the most powerful aspect of the card. You just have it as a 1 mana card in your command zone.
While it also
I
has
think it's really,
prowess. I mean, it does, it gives
yeah,
us
yeah, it can
pressure, it
attack
gives us
well.
filtering. So this one, I think you already have this one in the
Yes,
considering section.
1,000,000%.
Yeah,
Burning Prophet is
100%.
like an auto include.
Yeah, yeah. So why don't we get started and start looking at what you organized them. Look at you. God, you're a fucking hero.
No, I
Um,
didn't. Well, you know,
did you wait?
no, I didn't do this.
No? Oh, is
No,
this?
I'm not responsible for this. I organize nothing that I do.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is me complimenting myself because I forgot that I did this. Cool,
Yeah,
good.
untagged
That's a good
sorceries. Yeah,
look.
like shenanigans. Shenanigans is one that I threw in there.
Yeah, so any of these
Um,
untagged ones are going to be ones that you added, which is actually nice because this
yeah,
gives us a sense of,
those are the Derek specials.
got it. So
Yeah,
some of the cards that seem to be like dead obvious that we can start with is anything that's going to give us some degree of reach, right?
right.
So these pingers are like near automatic in my mind.
Yeah, the alchemist is the least powerful of the three because it keys off instants and sorceries, not non-creature spells,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
like I think one of the most powerful parts of the cards is the non-creature uh,
yeah. The claws.
syntax there.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay,
because that's what lets you really explore different card types
got it.
rather than just like casting spells. And I think in such a battlefield focused metagame, it's tough to like devote too much of your deck to just like non-creature spells or things that don't impact the board or that aren't a resource in some way, shape, or
Yeah,
form. You know.
yeah, for sure. Let's get some lands in there too. My mana base
Mhm.
here had
I think I added one to your considering the autonomous furnace, the new one from Phyrexia. It'll be probably down at the bottom, untagged lands or something. I don't know, but
untagged
it's in there. I
lands.
put it in there somewhere.
So we want, we want all the cycling lands for sure.
Or maybe you need to refresh. Maybe you haven't refreshed
Yeah, we'll
since
do a
I've
little
added all of these
refresh.
things.
Yeah, yeah, for
I
sure.
added a lot of cards.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's
Yeah,
awesome. We're gonna have some fun with
yeah, it's
this.
at the 145 here.
145. That's like many
Yeah.
cards
Oh yeah, there's
different.
a lot of beauties.
Okay, good. So let's start by getting these lands in
Like
here.
lands. There it is.
So
The furnace on the bottom.
for those of you that don't know, the Mox Field is a phenomenal piece of software. The ability to drag cards from either you're considering your sideboard or your main board into them through this system here is amazing. So we're just gonna start pulling these up here. Forgotten Cave. We'll start with that mana base. I know we were talking about creatures just a moment ago, but I think this is the way we'll get this set. We have the Terramorphic and the Evolving Wilds. Those were ones that you were interested in?
I don't. So I am generally, and this goes for any deck that I build. I don't really like lands that enter tapped unless there's a compelling reason to include them. I think there's enough ways to put lands in the graveyard that we don't need Evolving Wilds or
Yeah,
Terramorphic
yeah,
Expanse.
yeah.
We're just going to end up surveilling a bunch of lands to the graveyard inevitably. So I don't think it's worth like Ash Barrens, Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse.
Yeah.
Things that require resources to put them in your graveyard.
Yeah.
I just don't think
Yeah.
it's worth it. I'm like the ones that cycle to draw cards. I like.
Yep.
And Autonomous Furnace, the new one from Phyrexia.
Yeah.
That's the one that enters tapped, but you can pay 2 mana sacrifice to draw a card.
Got
Things
it.
that you can use to draw cards are really valuable because we're not drawing cards with Dragon Trade Chandler. So having an instant speed way to put the card from the top of our deck into our hand
Yeah.
is really important.
Right, right. Yeah, that makes
Yeah, you'll
complete
notice all
sense.
these untagged artifacts here. I ballooned this section.
Yeah, you sure did. So here's the question: where do you want to start with this? This is
Well, I can explain kind of the artifacts and kind of how I approached it, and then we
Mhm.
can decide if that's a compelling enough reason to kind of take
it
that
almost
primary
feels
route.
like this. You know
Um,
what we should do? Let's
yeah,
actually do that. Because chat, one of the things that can be
I'll
very
make a
difficult.
case.
Yeah, one of the things that can be very difficult is that frequently there are many ways to build a deck that are powerful, right? That are like reasonable at the very least, and even in the cases where there's one that feels like it's kind of the dominant path, there's oftentimes frequently different ways to do it.
Yep.
And because this whole experience here isn't about building the perfect deck, but it's about showing our thought process and explaining our rationale for the cards that we play, and then
Yeah.
also really showcasing the wonderful challenge of cutting cards at the hardest stage of doing so, which is the last 5-10 cards. And so this
Yeah,
is
like
not to get it perfect. This is just to get a starting point. So what I think we need to do is we're going to pick a lane and we're going to go that lane. And I think the artifact lane seems really a good one to do. So
yeah.
yeah.
So, and like coming off what you're saying, like the goal here is just to provide something that somebody from the community can pick up and iterate on, right? Like that's one of the coolest things about like when we did Great Desert Prospector. Like Lotad has done so much work on that deck since then. Like going off of what we put forth in our video, and like
Yeah.
that's kind of the best case scenario. Like
Yeah. It's a starting
putting
point.
it like a proof of concept and just like say, here you go, like
Yeah.
do something with it.
Get a
I think
couple
that's
of
awesome.
competent deck builders with the help of chat, and
Yeah.
you know you're not gonna miss a lot. Although today I did have a bit of a freak out. I was looking at TPI and had seen the new spoiled card with Convoke, and I found myself
Oh, yeah.
realizing that I hadn't searched the Convoke keyword in Izzet, and luckily there's Crowd's Favor and like Will Forged Golem, but I didn't miss anything.
Not very many.
Luckily, yeah, there were a couple people discussing that card in comparison to what's called Stoke the Flame, which is that 3-mana instant with Convoke. I would love to see that downshifted. Holy Moses!
Yeah, and
Yeah.
unfortunately for a standard legal set, that might be too powerful as a common. But
It's possible.
in a master set,
in a master set, yeah, we gotta always keep that in
that's
mind.
rough.
Yeah,
Hey, if they're
sure.
if they're willing to make Izzet Charm a common, then who knows?
I mean, Monastery Swiftspear is like insane,
that too.
Right? So yeah. Well, so artifacts. There's a couple like right off the bat that are just kind of like dead ringers.
Yeah. Well, first before we talk about specific cards,
yeah.
like you have to consider every one of these cards has the rules text when you cast the spell Surveil 1.
Yeah, that's right.
So like you have to view it through that lens. And when you do, I think a lot of it becomes much more compelling, particularly things like Experimental Synthesizer and Ichor Wellspring. That will, when they enter the battlefield, they draw. So because Channeler's triggers a cast trigger, so it happens before the artifact enters. You get to surveil before you draw, so you get a little of a control there. That makes those cards a lot better, even if you don't have the means to like immediately sacrifice them or get rid of them. I think just like a 2-mana surveil draw card is fine, especially if you build in ways to utilize it down the road.
Yeah, no kidding, for sure. That's going to imply that we maybe do something with those artifacts, maybe like a Coldotha Rebirth.
There's a lot of ways
thing.
There's a lot of ways we can do. We can sacrifice them and do other things with them.
Yeah, for sure. So Lotus Pedal. Let's start with that one. This is a card that frequently is kind of frequently played by CEDH players when they first come to CPDH, and they quickly find that the card disadvantage, it does not generally warrant the speed that it grants you when you draw it early. Because there's very little in this format that warrants getting 1 mana ahead at the cost of a card. However, in this deck,
it's better.
It's a bit better. It's a free surveil. It's a way to do some pretty strong things. We can, we can put 2 card types in the graveyard with Lotus Pedal in 1 turn. Playing DARCY into Lotus Pedal into like an enchantment buff, like maybe what's it called? The Furor, Bite of the. Let's see, it's a 1 mana.
Furor of the
Bitten. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
It's 1 mana +2/+2 has to attack every turn, right? And then next time you surveil, you're probably going to hit Delirium, and you've got a 5/5 on turn 2, flying. That it allows some strong stuff.
I think Lotus Pedal's worth a shot to test it out, see how that works.
Great. So let's move that into the main deck.
A category of cards that I think are like worth including wholesale are just kind of like spell bombs, quote unquote. Panic Spell Bomb is good because I mean when it dies you draw a card and it's functional. It turns off a blocker, which is fine. Implement, when it dies you draw. So these are things you can sacrifice to draw cards, not things that you need to utilize, not things you need to like activate to draw a card, right? You can sacrifice them to other things, which comes in handy. Things like Chromatic Star is another one. It's not quite in this category, but it's like a similar functionality in that like when you use it, it's mana neutral, but it draws you a card when it dies. Again, like it's something you can sacrifice and draw a card off the sacrifice rather than having to like activate something, which is why I like those cards.
Yeah, yeah. We've got Expedition Map, which seems like a
Yep.
great pick. Being able to
Yeah, it gets you your study hall, gets you Occasion's Dig Site, gets you
it
Opal
also
Palaces.
Opal Palace, but I think the other thing too is like in a pinch, you can always like if you top deck this, you play it, search up a cycling land, and cycle the land.
Yeah, you can do that too.
So I think this one here just mainly for getting Opal Palace and Study Hall, but like in a pinch, if we had both, we could do that. So
Yep.
that one seems excellent. These new equipment creatures are so good.
I like them a lot.
Yeah,
So Volshock Slicer or
this
Splicer, whatever it's called,
splitter.
Splitter.
Yeah,
It's clunkier because it's 4
rides the
mana.
line. Yeah.
But Batter Fist is
It's
very
also
good.
3 mana to equip. This one
Yeah.
is infinitely better. In fact, 60 card Pauper has
Yep.
come around to how crazy this is with Core Skyfisher and
Yeah.
Glenhawk.
Yeah. So
So
it's a 2 mana. It's a 2 mana 3/1,
Yep.
right? And then when we have Delirium and our commander's a 3/3, we can equip it to make it a 4/2, and then we still have a 2/2 on the board.
yeah.
But
Ooh,
yeah, it's 2 cards in 1, right? It's that resource advantage we're talking about.
Boots of Speed, really like this
Yep,
card.
card's great.
1 mana to cast, 1 mana to equip is great. We're gonna get
A power and haste.
and a
Yeah.
power too. This is like one of the better
Yep.
equipments printed in a long time. Um,
Mhm.
that one's great. And then we have a couple of cards here that maybe don't look as premium. I think that the treasures are interesting.
They are not as premium. I think,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mentioned this to you before we went live, but cards that generate treasures are really good in a shell
Mhm.
like this because when you're generating treasures on a consistent basis, you don't need to draw mountains, right? You can just surveil those all away if you're able to supplement your mana with treasures effectively. Um, so like I think Goldvein pick's pretty good. Prying Blade, I'm a little less high on, but it's definitely the third best of when I say the 3 of them, it's because that new one in March of the Machines is obviously the best one, but it's not released yet. It's like a +1 power menace. When it deals damage, you make a treasure. Cards like an auto include here, but we don't have it yet. But we can come back to like the Goldvein pick stuff. Prize
Yeah.
Statue
Yeah.
is another one in that same kind of class of cards
Yeah.
that generates a treasure
If
when
we
it enters. It surveils, makes you treasure. If you're able to sacrifice it, it gives you another treasure plus whatever you're sacrificing it for.
if we find sufficient artifact sacrifice type effects to warrant
Mhm.
this kind of thing, like honestly, Goldvein pick paired with like makeshift munitions is actually pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That's definitely an interaction that we like to have. You know, if we've been generating treasures all game and then we top deck makeshift munitions, it allows us to convert a lot of damage. If we have anything
Yep.
that can be leveraged into those, like a Cart Clan Shaman, that kind of stuff, then these are
Mhm.
going to be on
Yeah,
on
that's
the
one of
yeah,
Correct
definitely.
Clan Shaman's one of like the tertiary benefits of going an artifact route as well. In addition to other things, it's just like
Yeah,
one of a couple different perks that you
for
get.
sure. So this is a good start there to look at the artifacts. Let's take a look here. I had a couple artifacts in mine as well. We
Yeah, there's a
had
couple.
Sphere and Star, which
Yeah,
you know they're
I
basically
like a
just
lot. The
they're
one
kind of
mana stuff, it's hard to argue with the cost, right?
it is. The only question I have is like, are those premium to affect like Crash Through, which also draws a card, but it's actually doing something for us, right? Because Chromatic
So these you
Star
can
and
use at instant
Sphere,
speed,
right? That's true. You can stack them at instant speed.
and when you're surveilling, you just need a way to get cards off the top of your library
Yeah,
sometimes.
that's a good point.
And I think Star is better because again, you don't need to activate it. You can sacrifice
Just
it to
sack
something
it.
and draw the card.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. I have Lightning Spear in here. Very happy
I
with
like that
this
card
card.
quite a bit.
This
Hmm.
card's very stoked on that. Pyrite Spellbomb, another artifact that we're going
Yep.
to be playing. Um,
Yep.
that one's great. Bone Splitter is a slam dunk.
Yep. Obvious.
Ceremonial Knife seems strong. Um,
It does.
the only thing about it is that I wonder if we have really good control over our draw, like blood
I think
tokens and
treasure.
surveil are kind of similar in a lot of ways, right?
I
Um,
think they are. I'd have to think about what I value more. I don't think it's worth like slamming every single one of these equipment in, but like
no, but this one is
trying to
one
figure out
mana.
if we'd prefer. I know. I think the issue is trying to figure out if we'd rather have like one that generates artifact treasures or one that generates blood.
I think blood. The only thing is that
I think blood's better
we're
too.
not going to draw a lot of lands, and lands is what you generally
Mm,
use for blood tokens.
to discard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And we're going to be generally getting rid of those. But in the case that I think it's probably still fine. We may
Yeah.
want to revisit that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Generally
that might be a
speaking,
cut, but
in decks that don't have good sources of card advantage, blood ceremonial knife can be quite good. And it's also nice in the fact that it doesn't require that you do damage to a player. It just requires that you do damage in
mm,
combat. So blocking, it still works that way. So there's some more artifacts there. We've got the Mere Scrappling, which is both a creature and an artifact, which is also giving a counter onto something.
Yep.
The dual typing is
Um,
nice, but it's also like somewhat low impact, right? It is a one
right.
mana spell.
It won't trigger.
Won't
I think the creatures are going to be tricky because it won't trigger
Yeah,
Shaman.
yeah,
So I think or Channeler rather. I think the creatures that we want, we should prioritize cards that generate creatures
yeah.
that will trigger Channeler,
Agreed.
like Dragon Fodder, Krenko's Command, Hordling Outburst, the 4 Mirrodin artifacts, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, for
Um,
sure. So let's get
yeah.
those. Let's get those in here. We've got this is going to be under creatures, I believe. Beaters. Yep. So and we actually don't have any of those listed here. So let's get dragon
Well,
fodder.
they're all instants and sorceries.
Oh, so you've got them in the cards
I've
you
got
added.
I definitely put Hordling Outburst in the
Let's see.
untagged
Oh,
sorceries.
intagged sorceries. Yeah. So it's going to have Hordling Outburst.
There it is.
That one. So let's actually get the other ones in there first. So we'll do dragon
Yep.
fodder, fooder. Nice.
Close enough.
Fooder again. Yep, I've got a brainworm. Okay, there's that. And then we have Krenko's command. And then we also have the Forbidden Friendship. No, what is it called?
Oh yeah, yeah. Forbidden Friendship. I think.
Yeah,
is the
Forbidden
name of it.
Friendship. Yep, and that's the
Yeah.
1/1 white human and the red hasty dino.
Dinosaur.
Yeah, yeah. So we got those ones. I think Hordling
Then there's,
Outburst can come in too. That one's great.
Yep. There's the one that makes the 2 prowess goblins. I think that you have in your
Yes.
creature section, your tagged section.
Yeah, that's right. This is
It's a
one
little
of my-
pricier, but you know,
But
it's a
man,
good
this card is good in the deck. Yep, Goblin Wizardry that can go in.
Yep.
I think those are the main creature token makers. There is the Seders Cunning, which I saw you had here, and I could see this being really good if we had something that made
It's good sometimes.
like what's that? Is it Orcish Oriflame, the one that sits out and just gives you a permanent buff to attacking creatures? Is that the one?
Yeah, 4-mana enchantment.
See that would justify a card like Seders Cunning, right? Because each one of them
Cutting,
comes out as a
so
3/1.
one of the things you have to consider is that since Dragon Age Channeler is going to be doing a ton of the work, and we're playing a lot of non-creature spells, we want to be able to still have things to block, and the Satyrs don't block, which is the only thing about that I don't like so much.
Yeah, they don't
Like
block.
a lot of the time a lot of the damage we're going to be dealing is going to be from Dragon Age Channeler attacks and not from our tokens, overwhelming people. The tokens are great at getting in the way.
Yeah.
Oh, and I grabbed Coldotha Rebirth as well next to Seders Cunning.
Coldotha Rebirth is a mandatory in this particular build. Seders Cunning, so I think this one is one I'm going to be eyeing. I really like this. I've had games where I've actually won entirely on the back of this in competitive, where I didn't want to play my commander out because people were eyeing it, but like me just casting Seders Cunning over and over again until I had all these creatures.
Things,
and if you can buff them up with something that says like attacking creatures get this every time, and it's like something that sits out, this could be really strong alongside raid bombardment even. Although that's a little bit going away from the commander. So I'll definitely be
it's a great
thinking
card
about that.
just because, just things you can cast out of the graveyard are generally pretty good too. I mean, obviously we're going to be dumping a lot of stuff in there.
So
with like things like Tormenting Voice, Thrill of Possibility are like good cards, and they definitely work well with those.
So here's another one that is this is a Derek special. I'll admit, Coronation of Chaos, a card that
card's great.
Yeah, you've gone on record on this one a couple times that this is severely underplayed, and I am tending to agree. I think I've slept on this card. It's goad 3 creatures, and they can't block.
They can't block.
Goad them. This card applies so much pressure to it's phenomenal. We're not gonna leave home without this card. Yep. So that one's great. We've got Assault Strobe. So what do you think about the double strike spells?
I like Assault Strobe just as a 1-mana spell. I'm not it's like super high on them. I don't think we need them. But it's cute and you can get somebody with it, I don't like that in Temur Battle Rage. Just because Dragon Rage Channeler is a 3/3 with Delirium and not a 4-power creature, we're not guaranteed to be able to turn on the Ferocious on the Temur Battle Rage.
We are playing quite a bit of equipment,
cautious. I know. I'm very cautious of cards that have fail states. So that's generally why I steer away from it and would rather have Assault Strobe in that spot, maybe.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, I don't think we're gonna be doing a ton of stuff to where the instant speed aspect of it, I don't think is gonna be as important
And
if we're gonna be assault stripping or Dragon's Rage channeler.
let's think about the
So,
philosophy of fire on this, right? We have a one
hmm
mana card. How much damage does this convert to? And it's commander damage. So
sure.
it's
And
going to
it's
be,
always live.
yeah. So it's a card that also is going to play well along any sort of like Kiln Fiend type cards. So there's something to be said for this. If you have Fur of the Bitten or Bitten, yeah, no, Fur of the Bitten. That is how it's said on Darcy. You're going to hit for 10. That is
Yeah.
an enormous amount of damage.
I don't know. It may just be that you know, Team of Battle Rage is just better. It probably is, and I'm overthinking it
We have it's
because
a
that's what we
flying
do.
creature though. I mean, it
Mhm.
you know, we probably have good attacks most of the time. There are going to be times where we
Yeah.
wouldn't, and the TBR would be better. Um, but yeah, we'll throw this one in for now, and then we can come back and look at some of the other ones. Like, oh, actually, you know what? Raking Claws. Raking Claws is where we
Oh, I
want to
like that
be.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, because this
The one
is
that cycles.
cycles. Yeah, that's really.
Yeah.
I think that's the
I
only
think that, yeah.
one that's really obvious, like to me, that we would want to not miss out on. So
Yeah, the
let's.
cycling has way more value in a deck like this than it otherwise would.
And unfortunately, we are going to have to remove all of the flaring pains.
Disappointing.
Disappointed, yes. So let's move this one back to considering.
Yeah, we can considering assault strip
Yeah.
and put in the cycling one.
You have Swirling Sandstorm here. I love this card in this deck.
Oh yeah, that card's quite good. Yeah, I think we get a lot of mileage out of the fact that Dragon's Rage Channeler, it's very easy to make it a flyer. That's why like Correct Plan Shaman is really a great incentive to go like an artifact heavy route.
Yeah, yeah, and this is gonna frequently kill everything on the board. And
Yeah.
we have a phenomenal enabler for Threshold. Sometimes Threshold can be
Yeah.
really inconsistent with this card, and you kind of need to play it in red decks because it's like this is
Yeah, it's a
one
lot
of
of
the most
damage.
efficient sweepers in the whole game. 4 mana, 5 damage to everything is insane. But Threshold can be inconsistent, and in this deck, it's not. You're gonna have Threshold unless somebody has Relic or Tormod's Crypt and they don't want you to do it. Then they can turn it off.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
it's good. And our creature, our prime threat has flying, so this doesn't hit it. So that one seems obvious to me. Maybe what we should do is instead of looking at sections, let's go through the obvious cards, the ones that's just like
Yeah.
we're definitely playing that. Like
So
Burning
in my
Prophet.
opinion, Burning Prophet, just looking here, Spellgorger weird I like quite a bit.
Yeah.
It gets very big very fast. Arcbound Tracker is another one, but it's a little harder to enable because you need to cast more than one spell a turn.
Oh, we need Spell Eater Wolverine.
Oh yes, I think I might have put it in. Did I not?
Let's
Maybe
see.
an untagged creature.
Let's see. Spell.
Yeah, all my untagged stuff down here, like Young Red Dragon.
Okay, it's all the way at the bottom.
Scrap
Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
Main deck that. This one gets double
Young
strike.
Red Dragon. Yes, Young Red Dragon is another card that I think is a really great place to start too.
Yeah, so this one, threat and treasure. If it was Merchant of the Veil, where it was 2 mana instant speed loot, I would feel a lot
It's 3
better
mana
about
instant
it.
speed loot for a Merchant.
Well, it's 1 mana with Haggle. That's
Sure.
that's what gives you the Surveil trigger, and then it's 3 mana to
Right.
get a 2/3, and then you're paying 3 to loot.
Yeah.
This one here is only creating a treasure, which doesn't feel premium to me.
But it attacks, and
It does
Merchant
attack.
doesn't attack.
But is there a creature that just attacks better than a 3/2 flying? Like, could we play for 4? I mean, it's so much mana. It's the only thing I'm thinking about. I can't even block.
Sure.
It's 2 toughness.
That's true.
So there's I feel like we might find something that's just better than this.
We may. Yeah, we can leave it there for now.
Yeah.
Scrapwork Mud is one that I do feel more strongly in.
Yeah.
Because we can surveil it, bring it back, rummage
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. Anytime we're surveilling a card into the graveyard that does something from the
We can
graveyard,
cast.
it's a form of resource advantage that's
Yeah.
very strong. Goldhound is really impressive to me in this deck.
It's an interesting one, yeah.
Right. It's not going to surveil, but it's a great threat. And
it's 2 card types.
And it's 2 card types, exactly. So I think that one can go in. Goblin Chirurgeon is the pronunciation of this. It's a French word. It's an old French word for surgeon. We're definitely playing this. For folks who you don't know, if you're playing red and you don't have a good protection color in your wheelhouse, you need to be playing Goblin Chirurgeon. And once you're playing Goblin Chirurgeon, if you're in mono red, you probably ought to be thinking about the other goblin things you could do. Because if we have lots of goblins in here, it starts to look like our commander doesn't die that easy. We can kind of regenerate it over and over again. So definitely want to bring that one in.
Yeah, the floor on the card is sacrifice
Yeah,
itself for
it's
generated creature, which is like benevolent
yeah,
bodyguard level type of
bingo.
card.
Yeah, you were saying that earlier. It's Benevolent Bodyguard in red.
Yeah.
Krark Clan Shaman. This card's great. Again,
Yep.
another goblin, sack an artifact, deal 1 damage to each creature without flying. So this is going to be Swirling Sandstorm in a lot of cases. It's
Yep.
great. Keldon Marauders, I was excited to see in here. This is
That's a fun one.
traditionally played because it's 2 mana, 5 damage. That's the way that
Yep.
this card plays out. In this case, it's not hitting each player. So there's a part of me that thinks
I
that
don't think it's good.
maybe this doesn't make the cut.
Yep.
What about these Monarch cards?
Very expensive.
They're very expensive, but Monarch. Crown Hunter Hireling, the problem with
So I
Crown
think
Hunter Hireling is that
it doesn't attack.
it doesn't attack. And here's the funny thing. Like, Crown Hunter Hireling is frequently a card that people probably should play if they have the other Monarch cards,
Mhm.
but they choose not to because it doesn't attack. The reality is that when you're on the Monarch, you kind of aren't attacking anyways. That's generally the case because you want to
Sure.
preserve
Yeah.
that source of card advantage. In this deck, I don't. I think that that's a very significant knock on it to not be able to
Yeah.
attack unless they have the Monarch, and we're probably giving it away in some cases, but
It's like paying this much mana for like a Monarch effect. We're generating our card advantage in different ways. So we don't need to devote 5 mana into these spells. I don't think they're necessary.
yeah, yeah. I think the Crimson Fleet Commodore is the one that I would like to look into. Staunch Throne Guard
Yeah,
is
if we're gonna play
interesting
one, that would be
too.
it.
This is also an artifact creature, which I think is cool too. I think Staunch Throne Guard is one of the more justifiable Monarch cards that almost goes in any deck, and I don't say that lightly. Like, Staunch Throne Guard having Vigilance and being a 2/5 and being colorless is like really, really good. It does the
Yeah.
Monarch thing while also helping you defend the Monarch thing in a way that's very similar to like Entourage of Trust, where it's like another great card where it's like,
Right.
man, this card is actively helping you maintain the Monarch because you can block 2 things and it's relatively
Right.
chunky.
No,
Um,
I think that one might be worth considering.
Might be
if we
like the
get to that
very
point.
top end, right? Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. If we need that, if we have that spot to fill, I think it's
Mhm.
definitely that's kind of at the top of the list.
What did you think
Um,
about this one? Hellraiser.
I like the card in a vacuum. I don't think it's that great here.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think this one's going to do the trick for us. So I think we're moving past this right here. Let's
Yeah, the
head
creatures we want,
into
I think, are not in that vein.
no. Sticky Fingers.
Card's great.
Pretty cool in this
I'm a
deck,
big
I'd
fan of
say.
this card.
Yeah. When you're
Like I said, it makes treasures and it makes your thing hard to block.
yeah, evasion, and it's going to draw you a card. It will draw you a card throughout
Yep.
the course of the game. I like this card quite a lot. I think
Yep.
Curse of the Pierced Heart is one that I'm actually quite interested in this deck. If you play
So
this
I don't.
early,
I'm
turn 2,
actually kind of cool on this one.
like if you do turn 2, how much damage does this deal? If you go to turn 10, which is the average game length, this is going to deal 8 damage.
hmm That's if you have a turn 2.
If you have it turn 2. If you don't, it's not going to do that much damage.
Yeah.
So maybe
But
that's
the floor on
problem
this
with
card
it.
is not great, and it doesn't provide any other synergy with your.
It is an
pieces.
enchantment aura.
But it doesn't go to the graveyard. It enchants a player. They have to destroy it for it to go to the graveyard.
Right, but we can
I mean,
surveil it.
or you surveil it.
Mhm.
But like that's like I'd much rather have something like, I mean, granted, like it doesn't do damage, but like an enchantment like Bitter Reunion, right? That's like a tormenting voice that you can also
Yeah.
sacrifice to give haste.
This card
Like
seems
that card
great.
is, yeah.
Oh
that's
wait,
exactly
I
the
forgot
kind of
this is
card
an
we want.
enchantment for a moment there. Yeah, we play that.
Yeah,
For sure.
that card and Omen of the Forge is another one
Yeah,
that you had.
Omen of the
in
Forge.
your list that I think is quite good too.
Yeah, this one
Um,
is under Burn here. Omen of the
Yeah.
Forge. It's just shock for 2 mana with flash on an enchantment, and you can sack it later on to scry 2. It does absolutely everything we want.
Yeah, does a lot. It does a lot.
We had Common Theory in chat with a couple of things here. They were celebrating the good evening, and they said, with the token route going in here, a lot of people are playing against Gut. Would Volatile Claws be great with all the breath weapon and fiery cannonades everywhere?
Quite
Yeah.
possibly.
So I think that's a really good question. And one of the things I was thinking about when we were approaching this was, or actually, I think I'm answering my own question. If we are going tokens and equipment, right? Those actually work really well together because then we can like take our
Right, you
1/1,
have targets.
put Bone Splitter on it, right? And that's just like pretty dang good. Now the question there
Yep.
about Volatile Claws is important because if we're not doing tokens, then Volatile Claws is not actually that great. But Volatile Claws is a really powerful card that not everybody is familiar with. It is,
Right.
let's see if I can find it now because it's actually gone into instance, right? Because we're in this weird territory here. Volatile Claws. Oh, I wonder if I put it in my list above. Is it buff?
I don't know.
It isn't instant. There it is. Okay, Volatile Claws. 3 mana instant speed gives all creatures you control all creature types and +2/+0. This is an anthem, and the creature types is huge because our sweepers, like Common Theory pointed out, are Breath Weapon, Fiery Cannonade in red. There's a number of those. Fire Cannonade and Breath Weapon. And both of those would sweep our creatures. So this is a protection spell while also being an anthem. It's quite good. And it also protects against some really weird stuff like Eye Blight Ending and Rend Flesh and Victim of Night. And it stops Eye Blight Massacre, which is the 4 mana black, all non-elf creatures get -2/-2. Well, our creatures become elves and then they don't take the damage or they don't take the status effect.
Yeah. So it's a good thing to think about. I think in a deck like this, like we have to. I guess I envision what we're using our tokens for to be a little bit different. I don't imagine us like trying to amass an army to get into the red zone with our tokens. That they would need protecting to that degree because we're not generating them on a consistent basis, right? It's mostly just off the backs of these handful of spells. So it's going to be less consistent that we're going to have like an army of tokens. It's just a couple ways. The primary goal of the token spells is to just be able to populate the board with some blockers, get some triggers off of our commander. So I think keeping Volatile Claws in the wings for now is certainly a good idea.
I
if
think
it turns into
like
something where we actually have more than we think.
Just drop it in the sideboard for now as something we will consider there. So we're going to use a level here of like considering sideboard main deck.
Right.
Yep. So we got that. Crimson Fleet Commodore. Love this card.
Yeah, this card's cool.
Yeah. Good card for the deck. 5/2 trample for 4 is going to give us a Monarch. Card draw is something like we definitely are going to like that, right? We can surveil prior to the Monarch.
It's certainly not bad.
Yeah, no, it's certainly not bad. No, and we've got a flying attacker in our command zone that's 1 mana.
Yeah.
So Underworld Ragehound is probably one of the like hypest cards in this deck, right? Like
I like this card a lot, actually. Yeah,
this card is
very good.
So strong. It's basically in this deck it's going to be 4
power
mana.
That people need to put. Yeah, people need to put something in front of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, and it's a form of card advantage, really, because every time it dies, we just get it back again, and it's marginal cost for us to exile cards out of our yard. What about Kiln Fiend and Festival Crasher? These are instant and sorcery based. Yeah.
So we're not. The way that I
these are a different build, right?
Right. We're not spell slinging. We're just like accruing advantage with our cards. Kind of more methodically. It's not like trying to build up to a big turn. It's just kind of like maintaining consistent pressure, a consistent stream of quote unquote cards, etc. That kind of thing. Yeah.
No, I think that makes sense. This is when we're talking about the different builds of the deck you could play, this would be a different version of it. It'd be a Spellslinger. And we're going to have elements of that in here that work with that. Like
there's going to be some pump spells and
Galvanic Blast type stuff. But these are asking for instants and sorceries, and a lot of times we're not going to get that trigger for them. So I think frequently, and these also really want a first strike trample effect because you don't want them to only swing in once. And if you swing in without first strike, it is a one-time deal. Somebody will line up blockers to kill a Kiln Fiend. So we really want to be able to
they're not hard to kill.
Buff it up and first strike, or buff it up and double
strike.
That's
why I like something like Spellgorger weird that just like kind of progressively gets bigger.
And there's a bunch of those, right?
There's a couple 4 mana ones which are a little on the higher end of what I like to play, but like Pyroceratops is the name of one, and there's another one in Innistrad. I think that only triggers off instants and sorceries.
Yeah, so we have Pyroceratops and Spellgorger.
But this one has trample is like a big plus.
Trample is really good. I think that's a great top end. Okay, let's throw that in for now. I'm actually pretty high on that because we're not going to have very many expensive cards, and if it's not the time for them, we just surveil them to the yard. It's fine. I think that's one of the nice things about how the way we're.
Our commander attacks just as well, so like
it's not the only thing in play. We've got Reckless Charge, pretty high on
I
this.
think this card's great.
Yep,
Yep.
yep. This is gonna kill people.
It
You
absolutely will.
pitch it into the yard. Maximize velocity. Same reason. The discarding a card to fire off the jump start. A little less excited about that.
So probably, yeah,
We can cast it from the
yeah,
yard. That's the main thing. But
right. That's the draw.
yeah, because
But yeah,
it's
the discarding a card, things that put us like card negative are not great.
yep, it is card positive when you pitch it into the yard because we got to another
Right.
card, right? Another card deep.
Oh yeah, depending on what it is.
Yeah, it might be a land. I don't know, but yeah, this one maybe we keep on the sideline for now.
Yeah, I think Dragon Mantle is a really great workhorse kind of card that people
Oh,
overlook a lot.
yeah, this is great. This is just fire breathing on a card that draws a card, and it's also an
Yeah,
enchantment. Yeah,
it's functional. It'll push
that's a good
damage.
call. I love
Yeah.
Crimson Wisp, instant speed, haste, draw a card. It's just great.
Yep.
We've got Cartouche of Zeal.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that one here, at least.
Yeah. Blades of Velosvel. Now this is actually the little cousin to Volatile Claws, which is just pumping 2 creatures for 2 mana instant speed. It is tribal and it's an instant and it's a protection spell.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
pretty
this
good.
one a lot more actually than Volatile Claws in this deck.
hmm
Pitching this into the yard is going to be really great. If we actually wanted to and we end up playing Goblin Matron, then we can actually tutor this up when we look for a Goblin card.
Right, that's true.
Because it is a changeling.
Yeah.
So
Before we go further, I don't want to lose this train of thought.
Yeah, go for
living
it.
weapons.
Yeah. Okay, so
I know there's one. Flare Husk is one that I think I might like here. I'm not familiar with the other ones too much.
there's the other ones are a lot
There's
worse.
3.
Yeah, Flare
Flare
Husk
Husk,
is the
I think,
most
is good.
playable. This one is 4 mana to give +2/+2.
Yeah, these aren't great.
They're not great. This one here, equip 6, is like basically unplayable.
I actually kind of like Flare Husk a lot, though.
Yeah, Flare
now
Husk
that I'm
is good
looking at
here.
it.
Yeah, 1 mana, 1/1. Throw it on.
Obviously, it's less good than the Mirrodin stuff, but just like, it's an
Yeah,
equipment
but
that
+1
creature
power.
that triggers your thing.
Yeah, it makes Darcy into a 4-shot.
It all adds up. I mean, it's never none of this equipment stuff is bad because
Yeah.
you're hitting so many different marks with it. It's doing like 3 different things for you, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's not just like a 1 mana 1/1 or whatever.
So this one here, oh wow, this is really good.
Inferno Fist.
Yeah. Oh, I'm into that. This is great. Any enchantment or artifact that has some relevant effect on. I mean, that one's like making your creature bigger while also eventually acting as removal, and then like you can use it to fill for delirium.
Go face too. Yeah,
Yep, can go face. Yeah. Madcap skills. I have this in my deck.
the card's good.
Yeah, this card's good.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I have a feeling we may cut it later.
Can you
but
imagine
it's a
putting
good
this on a
card.
1/1 token though? Right? Like that's a
Yeah.
possibility, right? Where we're like if there's
certainly is.
not a lot of stuff in play, or just putting it on Darcy and making it 6 power. I do quite
Right.
like that one. This one here is not going to give us surveil.
No, the evoke and blood rush stuff is not what we're into.
No, I don't think we want any of these. So let's just
No.
take these and delete them so that we can we can get clear on that. There's also Fists of Flame here, which
It's okay.
we don't draw
It
a
draws
lot
a card,
of cards.
but I think Blazing Crescendo is the one I'd put in that slot.
Oh, Blazing Crescendo is very good in this deck. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Blades of Velosvel in our sideboard because I think that's
Yeah,
one
I
that
think
I'm
that's a good
very curious about. Maximize velocity to a degree as well. Cartouche of Zeal.
I mean, no.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Kiln Fiend and Festival Crasher are also going to go because
Yep,
this is not what we're trying to do here. And Lava
Yep.
Runner's the same way. 1 mana, 2/2 eventually. Okay, so now we're into some great burn spells here, and we're going to add these rapid fire. There's no question
This
we're
is
playing
where we
Bolt,
get a lot of
Lava Dart.
Unholy Heat is, I think, one of the easiest ones.
Yeah, Unholy Heat is cracked in this deck. Format staple.
Thunderclap gives you two cards for Delirium.
Yep, Thunderclap's
and Mind
great.
Collapse.
Mind Collapse is good. I think we might have better stuff for Mind Collapse though, because Mind Collapse is.
It's only in your turn, right?
I guess like most of the cards that you play in a game are not in your opening hand, right? So because I don't want to see this
Yeah.
in my opening hand. But it kills big things, and it does so at the cost of
Right. Yeah.
something we
I think
don't need a
that's
lot of.
the big draw.
Okay, yeah, I think we can throw that one in.
Two spells that I would consider that are probably an untagged instance. Tarfire, I think, is the other
Yeah,
one that I would put in
Goblin
here.
Tribal Instant
And Omen of the Forge.
and Omen of the Forge. Yep. And
Yeah,
these
because that's
spells that
flash.
are hitting players as well are really important. So like Seal of Fire, I think is another one. I found
Seal of
myself
Fire's
when I
pretty
was
good. Yeah.
testing, just like having a Seal and Fire in play is like Pirate Spellbomb. Like the reason Pirate Spellbomb is so good is because it's just in play. And I've actually started playing Pirate Spellbomb in a lot of decks that have access to better removal because it's on board. And I think actually for those
Yeah.
of you out there, thinking, well, man, what other onboard stuff are there, and why is it good? And the reason for that is that it just sits there, and nobody wants to be the one to trigger it, and so it ends up creating a tempo effect, or true tempo effect, where people don't play into it because they're like, I want somebody else to trigger that, right?
Yeah, that's great. The other one here so Gutshot is like an intriguing one, but I actually don't like it so much. It's like just 1 damage,
Just
so
1 damage, yeah.
I don't like
Whereas
it.
Lava
Flame
Dart,
Slash, I think
really good.
I think Flame Slash is very good.
Flame
in a
Slash
deck
is
like
great.
this.
Yep, I like that. Flame
Even
Jab
it gets like
is low
Jab
key
is
cracked in this deck.
Jab is good because
Yeah.
it lets us when we do end up
Retrace.
like accidentally drawing into lands, we can retrace it. Yeah.
Or we just start it in the yard, right? We just surveil it right into the yard, and then if we get too many lands, we just can trigger it over and over and over and over again, and it's going to trigger our delirium. So, so Gutshot, Gutshot,
Gutshot's too cute.
no. Firebolt is interesting. I kind of like this one. It
Yeah,
goes
yes
face,
and no.
castable from the yard. It's 5 from the yard though.
Right. I mean, if we're not willing to equip a Volshock Splitter for 4 mana, I don't think
point.
we're going to be willing to cast a Firebolt for 5.
Yeah, that's a good point. Chain Lightning is sorcery speed, but it does go face.
I think that's a sideboard card if we need like that effect. Burst Lightning, I don't like so much just because 5 mana to kick again. Like,
but it does
it's
do.
Nice...
If you kick it, it is 4 damage to a player.
But if we commit harder to artifacts, we can play Galvanic Blast and Voltage Surge, which both do 4 damage.
Yeah, Voltage Surge doesn't hit players
for 1
right?
mana. It doesn't.
No.
But it's that most of the time we're not using these spells to kill our opponents. We're using them to control the board.
Kill creatures. So
just manage the board.
Are we into Fire Blast?
Probably.
Ooh,
it's maybe. I'd be willing to.
It's like Mind Collapse, very similar to Mind Collapse.
Yeah.
There's going to be a certain point where we aren't getting lands anymore, or we don't because we don't want them, and this card could be potentially counterproductive in that case. Because we do.
Let's leave it on the cutting room floor for now.
Okay. I think the rest of these here, I am interested in Incinerate, but none of these here are looking premium. Anything here you see that you like?
No, nothing jumps out at me.
Yeah. Crash Through, Expedite. I think Crimson Wisps was in, so we definitely play Expedite. Faithless Looting is actually pretty appealing to me here. Surveilling it into the yard. So Faithless Looting is a card that I frequently dunk on in this format because too many people play it in too many red decks. And this isn't a hot take, this is just the truth. If you are not casting cards from your graveyard, if you are not putting cards into your graveyard that are better there than they are in your hand, this card is card disadvantage in a color that does not have card advantage sufficient enough to maintain. In this deck, if we are casting it for 3 from the graveyard, it is it's card neutral.
It's just card too.
And it's 2 triggers. So I think it's fine. Casting on the front half isn't super exciting to me because we're a red
I think
deck.
that this Faithless Looting is probably worse than Faithless Salvaging.
That's a good point.
Worse than Thrill of Possibility.
That's a good
like all the Tormenting Voice variants. There's a bunch of them.
They're card neutral.
Many of them I think are good because there are lots of them that generate resources. There's one that generates an army token. There's one that generates a treasure. There's 2 that generate 2 treasures. The Big Score and Unexpected Wealth or something like that.
While we're at it, let's just get Reckless Impulse in there. We're 100% playing.
That card's obviously good.
Yep. Warlord's Fury 2. I really like that one. It's a sorcery speed draw, first strike.
So if we're going for like cards that are going to draw us cards like that, I'd rather play Chromatic Sphere.
Boy, first
because
strike though.
first strike's not going to matter. For sorcery speed, first strike I don't think is going to be as
It
important
basically
as like.
reads they can't block our Darcy.
I mean that's not true. It means that they'll may lose a creature for it, but
Right, right. So, but
I
I'm
think
comparing it to Renegade Tactics is a similar
sure.
dynamic, right? 1 mana, sorcery speed,
Oh
draw
sure.
a card, they can't block. I mean,
Well, I look at it this way, right? Like you look at Punisher spells, like
uh-huh.
letting your opponent choose whether they want to let your thing through or block it.
It's
I think
worse.
is worse than just saying that you cannot block with
But
it.
think about this: we have creatures in the deck too that,
Hmm.
and this is all creatures we control, right? That's one of the things that I think I like
Sure.
about Crash Through
Okay.
and Warlord's Fury is that if we have a card like,
Oh
especially
yeah.
Crash Through with like Spellgorger Weird or one of these things is going to be pretty heavy hitting. And in red
Hmm.
decks, sometimes you want to be able to swing out with impunity, and having first strike is one way to do that. Um,
Sure.
so I think I'd
That
like to
works for me.
start with both of these in the deck, and then if we find that there's something premium, we can cut them. Thrill seems
Hmm.
an obvious include. Faithless Salvaging
Yep.
is card disadvantage, just like Faithless Looting, because we are playing a card to discard a card and draw a card, and then to
So
discard
this
a card and
has
draw a card
several
again.
advantages over Faithless Looting. The
Two
first is
triggers.
that it's a 2-mana investment, not 4.
Yep. Instant
You
speed.
discard the cards separately and you draw the cards separately, so you have greater agency over what you're doing. And it's 2 triggers. So it's a much better card and it's an instant.
The disadvantages are it's a rummage, not a loot.
Right?
And so we are discarding first before we can see what we draw. And it is and just like Faithless Looting, it is also card disadvantage. So and we can't cast it from the
Right,
yard.
but we get our surveil triggers, so
We
we
do,
have
we
control
do.
of what we're drawing,
I think
regardless of what we discard.
I think these ones comparatively should potentially take the seat for the moment. I like that it has rebound, but we could get that with like Stagger Shock, right? Where we get
Hmm.
a shock that can go face that also
Yep.
rebounds at instant speed. Because
Yeah.
I'm
I
wary
guess.
of card disadvantage in this particular build. In like Mono Red,
Oh,
it
no, I'm
hurts
aware.
even
I'm aware
more.
of that.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, this is not. I mean, so the thing about I don't know. I think that instant speed ways to draw cards is something that isn't going to read very powerful, but will be very powerful.
Hmm. Hmm.
And this thing does it twice. So we have plenty of time to set up and kind of maximize how it's used.
I will say I've
And I
played
think
Faithless
the
Salvaging in
free
the deck.
second surveil trigger is
Hmm.
good too.
Yeah, I've played Faithless Salvaging in the deck. It's in my
Hmm.
60 card, and it felt pretty good most of the time. There were definitely a couple of
Because
times where I was like, I
you
don't
also
have
have to
anything I want to
consider,
discard. Um,
like a lot of the time, I mean, we are playing a lot of cards that play well out of the graveyard. So, the discard's mitigated, the draw is mitigated as well. So a lot of the downsides we kind of have leverage
yeah,
against.
yeah, I'm open to it for sure. Let's throw this in the sideboard, and we'll
Yep.
throw. I think we'll start with that one. We can come back to Faithful Suiting. We're not going to play Thermo Alchemist, not in this deck.
Yeah,
Although
we're too
although we
spread.
could think about it this way, Thermo actually does a lot of damage regardless of whether you're
Oh, sure. I
doing.
mean, it
It's
taps on your turn
it hits for
regardless.
3 every turn. It's a 2 mana 3/3, right?
Hmm.
And it can be a lot more. I actually think we
The
do
other
play this,
one,
don't we? Because we currently have 13. We have 27 instants and sorceries.
oh, okay, yeah, that's true. The other one that's pretty good is Sawblade Scamp, the new one for
Yeah,
Phyrexia.
Sawblade Scamp. This one only hits for one each turn, but it does have haste and it's very easy to turn on. Sawblade Scamp. Did you add that to the list?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I'm
I did
gonna
not.
do a little refresh here too, just to make sure anything that you've added is still there. Um,
It deals damage to each opponent.
it does. It does. Yeah, but
Yep.
you can only do it once a turn, though, is what I'm saying.
Oh, sure.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
true.
Whereas like Thermo, you can kind of go bananas with it. Um, so yeah, I don't see Sawblade Scamp in here.
Yeah, I definitely didn't put it in.
So yeah, let's throw that in. And then okay, so let's go back up to where we just were. We cleared all of these, right? So we're deciding,
Hmm.
and I think like Viashino Pyromancer, this could probably
That's not that
go.
good.
Yeah, I don't think that's not that good. Shock, nope.
I think we're looking to play much more efficient spells than Shock and Searing Spear.
Yeah, yeah. Incinerate and Lightning Strike are riding the line a little bit because they do go face and they are bolts. But I think we're just going to have more premium stuff. So we've made our way through
Yep.
here. We've gotten through here. There's a couple of these one
I
mana
think Tormod's
cantrip
Crypt might
things.
be. Yeah, I think they play a lot
Tormod's
better
Crypt
than
is
they.
great in this deck.
The function of these cards with Dragon Trade Channeler specifically, and then when you factor in things like, for example, like, and I think the big reason for going artifacts is you get Voltage Surge as a premium removal spell, Galvanic Blast as a premium removal spell, Croakland Shaman as like a really effective way to wipe the board that leaves your Darcy intact.
Yeah.
And plus, there's a lot of inter artifact synergies. You could play things like Mirror Retriever, Workshop Assistant to rebuy your eggs.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So you can really get a lot of mileage out of that. Just play like a really grindy game while you just attack for 3 every turn or more if you have it equipped.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got one thing I was thinking about with Mycosynth Wellspring was the idea of using this as discard fodder.
Yeah, it's a little awkward sometimes because it does shuffle.
Yeah, it does shuffle.
But you can clear the top of your deck with it if you want to.
It's probably not premium.
If you
We've
don't want to
got
put something in
good
the
cards in here, right? Like we don't even have
Wellspring. Wellspring is definitely not premium. So there's 4 like Ichor Wellspring type cards. There's Ichor Wellspring, Mycosynth Wellspring, Prize Statue, which is the one that makes a treasure when it comes in and out. And there's Nimblewright Schematic, which makes a 1/1 artifact creature token when it enters and leaves.
Right.
Which might actually be worth playing. I don't know yet. But
what do you think about these ones?
The prowess stuff.
Like these 1/3s are great.
Yes, the 1/3s I like a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So like all 3 of these kind of look premium to me. 1/3s for 2 that do that. This is
I
even
played
better.
quite a bit with those. They're good.
I don't think this is as compelling to me. The 2/2 is fine.
No, definitely not Lightning Visionary. The 2/2 is better, but not great. I think the toughness is the important thing.
Yeah, the toughness is important.
You just want things that are a little more resilient.
We want to be able to clap every turn with these cards.
Yep.
And so if we go
and yeah, like, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just talking to myself. Go ahead.
Okay, so Untagged Instance. If we're down here.
Is that where we're at? Oh yeah, so we've gotten through this.
Yeah,
we're through.
So
this.
like I was just talking about like Jewel Statue, those cards. Untagged Instance, Fire Impulse, Frostbite. I think are 2 cards. Just 1 mana, 3 damage to a creature.
Galvanic Blast.
Good cards.
Yeah, these ones.
And they are easy. And Scred.
We like Scred. Yeah, Scred's really good.
Yep. Yeah, just like 1 mana, 3 damage, even if it's just to a creature, not to a player, is very good because we need to. I mean, we need to be able to control, like, manage the battlefield somehow. And like I keep saying, like, so much of our damage is going to be dealt by Dragon Trade Channeler.
Yeah,
people are not going to respect this card for the damage it deals.
And it's going to be hard to respect it because look, it's a 1 mana commander. You kill it, and it feels really bad. Like killing cheap commanders feels shitty because when they recast it, it makes clear how card disadvantaged that was. Like to kill that thing and they recast it, especially when we've got cards like Opal Palace, feels
unless
very
you're gaining
redundant.
Some kind of like tremendous tempo advantage by doing it, unless there's like other reasons why you're doing it other than just like to remove a threat, right?
Yeah,
like,
right. People are likely going to take a lot of damage off Darcy before it ever dies or gets stonewalled by a blocker. You talked about Blazing Crescendo earlier.
Yes, card's good.
Insane, right? Yeah, love this. You said Voltage Surge.
Yes.
Sack an artifact.
So this is 1
4.
Yeah, so it's a shock. You can sacrifice an artifact to deal 4 damage.
Okay.
So it puts 2 cards in your graveyard if you're looking to hit Delirium. 4 damage is a really good threshold because a lot of people, I think, right now are slotting a lot of creatures to get above breath weapons and those sorts of things. So like 3 toughness is a really good thing to hit. It's really good. It's really good to be able to hit 3+ toughness creatures, and there's not a lot of burn spells that can do that as efficiently as these cards.
Yeah.
And we want to be sacrificing a lot of
artifacts.
We want to
sacrifice
why the ones. That's like sacrificing a Chromatic Star with this. Deals 4 damage, draws us a card, puts 2 cards in our graveyard.
Yeah.
So like I said, like we double dip a lot in a lot of different synergies, which is where we can maximize a lot of this stuff. But like Frostbite, Fire Impulse, I've been very satisfied with. Those are just very easy 1 mana, 3 damage.
These have been premium removal spells for a really long time.
And we very naturally enable them. Magma Jet is one that rides a little closer to the line because it's a 2 mana spell. It deals 2 damage, but we scry 2.
We scry 2, yeah. The funny thing is where these cards feel really bad is where you like what's on top and then you just kind of like leave it there. But yeah, I mean, it's not bad.
It's not bad. I probably wouldn't put it in just yet.
What about Electric Revelation, which was in this instance?
It's expensive, but I like it a lot.
I like this a lot. Yeah, this is a good top end. I really like this card too. Now, when we flash it back, do we still discard a card?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense because you're just casting it for this other cost.
Yep.
So that makes sense. I think we'd throw that one in. Okay, we're down to sorceries again here, and we've been through this a little bit, but what do
There's
we?
not a ton of them that I would use. I like
Cathartic Reunion is going to be
Forbidden. Oh, Cathartic
uncastable
Reunion.
sometimes, like because you won't.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
No, yeah. So we'll just delete this.
Tormenting Voice is like as high as I'll go on those
Oh, and
effects.
we didn't put this one in, did we? But that seems
What's that?
really good
3+3+0 first strike. It's not as good as uh
as
what you call it.
madcap skills.
Yeah, I think it's worse than Madcap skills.
I like that this would be allowing us to attack
It's good on
forever.
a token as a blocker.
That's true.
First
And
strike is
first
way
strike
better
is
as a
really
blocker
strong
than
right
attacker.
now. First strike means
Yeah,
you can block gut tokens. You just line up 2 blockers and you
it's
first strike and kill it.
true.
I think this one's kind of catching my eye.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put it in
Yeah,
for now.
let's throw that one in. We'll do sideboard for now, and we'll come and revisit it. But Geist
Mhm.
Flame, we can delete that. Sonic
Yeah.
Seizure, I love this card, but
No,
it's
I don't. Not here.
yeah, not in this deck. We don't want card disadvantage in this deck. Not like that.
Yeah, I don't think I want any of these.
Searing Spear is another one that I'm just gonna leave because these 2 mana instant speed creature or player cards are strong. Curse of the Pierced Heart is, I don't know. Like there's
I don't like it very much.
certain scenarios it's gonna do a ton of damage, and others not so
Yeah,
much. Uh,
I just like to. Yeah, I just look at the floor of that card, and it's not very high.
mhm. You
Um,
have a fight spell that also cycles. Oh,
a sorcery speed fight spell I
oh,
don't think is
sorcery
better than any
speed.
of the burn
Oh,
spells that we have.
no,
Yeah,
okay, never mind. I thought it was instant. Um,
Shenanigans I like. It destroys an artifact and it dredges, so we can keep rebuying it
why wouldn't we
if we
just
need
play a
to.
braid though? I like
Because
the
this we can get over
recasted
and
is
over and
good.
over again,
We can.
and it fills our graveyard. It puts cards in our graveyard. I mean, I honestly would probably play a braid too, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But this card, it dredges, which is awesome.
What
We can
artifacts do we
remove
want
whatever
to destroy?
artifacts. Mana rocks to start.
So when I think about artifacts, I think about
Yeah.
cranial plating, Whisper Silk
Yep.
Cloak, Nurok Stealth
Yep.
Suit, Bonder's
These are
Ornament,
all great targets.
Network Terminal, Honored Heirloom.
Yeah, Honored Heirloom's a big one for us.
I mean, yeah, it could be. I guess that's true. I think
Being able to force Relic of
yeah,
Progenitus, I
Force
think
Relic.
is
That's
good.
another one too. Yeah, and Shenanigans is also just a trigger. Every turn.
Yes, it's a
Um,
recastable graveyard spell that does
yeah.
something that's real.
Okay. Yeah. Let's
We
put
may,
it
we may
in
end up cutting it, but
let's go
it's
sideboard for it.
clunky. Yeah, it's clunky, but I like the card quite a bit.
Okay. We've got Wild Guess here.
It's like the worst Tormenting Voice.
Yeah.
I probably, if we're gonna play like the sorcery speed Tormenting Voice cards, I would want to do the 3 mana ones like Seize the Spoils or
Yeah. They create a
uh,
treasure.
yeah, and there's the 2 4 mana ones that are actually instants that make 2 treasures.
This one actually makes a
but again,
body.
Yeah, like these cards are not bad at all. They're actually quite good.
Oh, Gravitic Punch. Yeah.
I like Gravitic Punch.
It's a fun card. I have
Yeah.
I have died actually to a really wild moment with Crackling Drake, where somebody swung in with Crackling
Mhm.
Drake, killed one player, and then they Gravitic punched me,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they Gravitic punched the other one, and they just ended the game. And it was not a thing that
played-
you would commonly have happen, but it was.
I played Gravitic Punch in Commander for a while. I had a deck that would do like Task Force combo and then switch Power and Toughness and just Gravitic Punch somebody or
my
fling
God.
them or whatever. That was fun. But out of all these sorceries, the ones that I like are like the Tormenting Voice cards that generate a resource. So like the 2 here, I like Burning Inquiry. I also think is awesome.
Oh, Burning Inquiry though. I
Yeah.
cannot condone this card. I know
I
why
love Burning
people
Inquiry.
like it. I know why people like to think about it. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
I don't know how many people are actually happy with casting it, because so frequently it destroys our own hand.
Sure.
And there is the possibility it destroys somebody else's hand, but it's as equally likely that you enable their hand. And I am way too much of a boomer to like that. The idea of like
Sure.
destroying my hand and then giving somebody their ghostly flicker just like makes me want to vomit.
That's fine. We can leave it out then.
Yeah. You could see the physical agony just like running through my body considering this card. We're at 94 cards. We don't have enough lands yet. So let's get the lands in there and just see. We're actually not that far from being done.
Yeah.
It's kind of
I
wild.
think
So
once we focus up and tighten up a little bit, we'll have a good idea of what we want.
32, 30.
With those lands, what we got?
So 12
How many do we have?
mountains. And these actually got to be snow covered because we got Scred.
Yeah. Yes. And frostbite.
That's right. Yeah. Wait. Oh, mountain. I always do the S on the end and it messes it up. Snow covered mountain. And then we're going to add another 14. Add more. So we're just going to go add 14 more. And then we'll delete these here. There. So that puts us to 31. I'm really most interested just like seeing what our average like 32 is probably.
I'd probably cut a mountain, play Darksteel Citadel.
Oh, we've got a couple actually. We need to go 1, 2.
There's a couple colorless lands and stuff we need.
Yeah, 4. So let's go. First of all, it's Opal Palace is insane in this deck.
Yeah. The great thing is that even with all of these like colorless lands, even if we have to play colorless land on turn 1, it's not the worst thing in the world because our commander still costs 1 mana. We can play it whenever we get a mountain. So
yeah. What do you think about Forge of Heroes?
Probably not.
Not enough.
Yeah, I mean we're playing a turn. We won't be able to play turn 1, and I mean it's
Study Hall,
worse than
Opal Palace. What was the one you just mentioned? Darksteel.
Darksteel Citadel.
Is that? Oh, because it's 2 types. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's an artifact we can set. It counts towards Galvanic Blast, Sacrifice it to Volt Surge, Karkland Shaman.
Love that.
Rebirth, those sorts of things.
Yeah. Okay, so 32 lands strikes me as probably somewhat appropriate.
Yeah, maybe one more if we find that we're getting a little tight. Just because like we do have some expensive spells, but
yep.
Like yeah, that's why like in my personal list I have things like Conjurer's Bauble, like a lot more of the eggs. Even the Skull Bomb from Phyrexia, the one that adds oil counters, just because it sacrifices to draw a card. It's just a 1 mana thing, sacrifice, draw a card, which is an effect that I think is very powerful with this kind of a shell. But you know, we'll see if we'll draw some hands and see what it looks like if we are regularly able to like utilize our things, sacrifice artifacts when we need to, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to start organizing some of these cards here into our different effects. And I am going to take cards like Raking Claws and put them into draw because this deck has limited draw. And these cards, we're frequently playing them because they have an effect and they cycle. So they're really like there for both reasons. Electric Revelations, draw. This is going to be burn. So actually, I think it's funny because of the way that I had this is a 60 card deck. I need to go back and change. I have very strict on my tags, so this is just removal, and this is also artifacts. And then this is also removal. Removal. Got to do a little housekeeping here to get everything tidied up. This is also draw, and this is also draw. They're going to have some secondary effects that we'll look into as well. Spell Eater Wolverine is going to be a creature. Going to go Pyroceratops, creatures, Goldhound. This is going to be...
but like you look at the kind of like the mana cost of these spells, like all our creatures are going to be generally between like 2 and 4 mana, and nothing else higher. Even like the spells that we used to generate creatures, like it's all very low on the curve, which is what we want. We want it to be double spelling and like generating tokens and being able to play something and interact on other players' turns. We want to be able to like do everything.
Yep.
That's why it's so important to have spells to like draw cards off the top of your deck, because when you're chaining a bunch of spells together, you're not generating card advantage with those, right? You're going down cards. So like you want to make sure that when you are surveilling and the card on top matters, you want to be able to put it into your hand when you need to.
That makes
so
sense.
You can just keep everything going.
Yep. Panic Spellbomb here, draw. This is also a creature. The Ichor Wellspring here is draw. Sweepers, good. Removal, protection, pingers, draw. We got 20 draw spells. And then pretty good amount of... Oh, this is actually what we want to do is name all of this. This is a feature I would love Moxfield to have, is if you could edit that. Because then what it would do is allow you to edit to take all of those cards and change the tag on all of them. I need to do submit a ticket for that. They're really responsive. So, but yeah, if you just like clicked up here and it was just like you could just rename it, that would be really sick. Because instead we have to go back through and it's kind of tedious. But we're gonna go here, and then go removal. Or actually, what we could do is we could clear tags. Is there a clear tags feature?
I have no idea. I don't go this deep on Moxfield. I just
Oh, remove all
type card
tags.
names. I type card names, and then until I have a list of a million things in one single list, and then I just hit the X's next to them until I get what I want.
Yeah, yeah. I part of it for me is that, and I know you think this way too. So it's funny that you don't use the tags on that for this reason. But the ability to look at your deck in terms of balance of effects is
Hmm.
really strong, and that's why I actually
Yep.
double slot things is because I want to see it as a whole how
Right.
many cards of a certain effect I have, especially if that
Yeah.
effect is really important. So um, that's one of the things that it's maybe just how my brain works in that way. But
Hmm.
so we're going to go remove tag on all of these here. This is the fast way to do it because all these things we want to take the tag away of burn and we want to put these as removal. There could be a
Yep.
category for saying how many direct damage spells do we have that go face, but I don't think that's a
Yep.
category that I need to like delineate in my mind. I just want to know that I'm focusing on getting most of my spells to also
Right.
go face. Um,
I think once we get everything organized and seeing how many targets we have for a Goblin Matron might be
Yeah,
looking for
Goblin
me.
Matron is very exciting to me. Um, I like that a lot. Removal, Seal of Fire removal. Okay, now we're getting somewhere here. This feels good. Tidy everything up. 107. We're not even that far off. Look at this
Nice.
heinous white bordered card here. Oh, God help the person who did that. Um, okay, we got the sideboard. Coordination of Chaos here. I don't even know what to call this thing.
It's the best spell in the deck. I don't know. How
Yeah,
do you tag it like that?
goad. This is like one of those cards that sometimes falls under like utility. Um,
Yeah.
I'll just have like a general section just called utility. Um, this is actually I'm just gonna put this under lands. I think
Sure.
this is like this also is kind of just a generic spell. I don't really know. This one here we're gonna put under graveyard hate or graveyards is kind of what I do nowadays.
Yep.
I usually have a section for augmentations as well.
Yeah. Another thing that I like about this commander is that it asks you to play a lot of cheap cards, a lot of cheap spells. You don't need 10 slots devoted to mana rocks in a deck like this. You can just play gas,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
which I love.
yeah.
If I don't have to play mana rocks in a deck, I'm just like over the moon.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a good feeling for sure. Or like, have you had a chance to play Oxida Finisher yet?
No.
Yeah, that deck when all of your equipment just like randomly is like a forever ritual. It's
Oh yeah,
really
that's great.
really strong. Uh,
Oh, and before I forget, I wanted to tell you this. I got a chance to play Trelisara on
mm,
Chris One More Games stream the other day,
oh
and it was busted. So there's a lot of legs to this kind of a thing, like enabling something
yeah,
to set the top of your deck. It was unfortunate as she died once to an unstable obelisk because I wasn't able to dig to like the protection spell that could protect against that. I had like a shelter and a stave off in my hand, but those don't protect against an artifact like that,
right,
which
yeah,
was
yeah,
unfortunate. So it's just kind of like a wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. But other than that, I was just like, I had a soul sister on turn one, and Trelisara got up to 20 power by like the fifth turn of the game, and
oh wow, that's really gnarly.
you give her a trample, and
Yeah,
she kills
people
everybody. It was awesome. But like it's the same
bodies at the
thing as this, right? Exactly it's the same concept as this. It's just you trigger your thing in a different way, and in
yeah,
fact, it's better to surveil because we can take advantage of the graveyard rather than putting things on the bottom.
sure, sure.
Um,
What do we think about
so it was really great.
what do we think about Impact Tremors, Witty Roastmaster?
Like
Um,
that's a whole package of cards, right? I don't think we need that.
yeah, there's even I mean, there's another approach to this too. If we were to go really heavy into Artifact, where you play like Reckless Fireweaver and Artillerist. I was just realizing that.
Ooh, I like that because we're already halfway there, and then it would incentivize us to play more things like Mirror Retriever and Workshop Assistant, which I think could be quite good
Oh
here.
yeah, interesting. Mirror
Um,
Retriever is definitely. Um,
Because again, like we just want to put things on the battlefield that can block
mhm.
and let us keep attacking with Channeler. Um, I don't think there's much use to like using all these tokens to get super aggressive unless there's like an obvious reason to do so. Like if people aren't set up to block them, and obviously like if we have good attacks, we take them. But otherwise, like they're really valuable just to kind of keep us alive while we do a lot of damage to people. And in that regard, I think Mirror Retriever and Workshop Assistant are great because they recycle your other artifact creatures if we have them. They get back your eggs to draw more cards off your surveil triggers. I really like artifact creature packages like that in a lot of decks in a lot of colors. It's what I did with my Oathbreaker deck with the Wanderer. Like that's the kind of package I had going on there because you can just grind so hard. And I mean, if you didn't have 8 4/4s, I would have drowned you out. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
unfortunately, that's the way that game shook out.
Yeah,
But it's a
sure
really
did.
valuable way to approach it. You generate a lot of card advantage that way when you're able to just buy things back so much. We could even get back like with a Mirror Retriever, get back your Lightning Spear, like that kind of stuff. You know.
Yeah, totally. It's sort of a non-traditional approach to the card advantage.
Mm.
So
So like if we're not looking to get super aggressive, we even cut the prowess creatures and put in like the artifact recursion creatures, or something like that. Because you have to think about like the cards that we're going to be attacking with. I think are the ones that don't require as much work as a 1/3 to make powerful, like Pyroceratops, Spell Eater, Wolverine, those kinds of cards. Like they just attack very cleanly. They get big very naturally. But those the 1/3 prowess, we have to like chain some spells together, like very specifically to make them powerful in combat, which might not be something that we want to be gearing up to do.
Yeah.
And rather devote resources elsewhere.
There is a bit of a split personality thing that I'm noticing here, which will be worth kind of exploring. And that is that we have these token makers, and they almost feel like a defensive element in this deck. Occasionally, we can make them bigger with like, Flare Husk or with Ceremonial Knife or Boots of Speed and some of these things here. But
I view them as primarily defensive.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's... I mean, that can be fine, right? That actually can be perfectly fine. Tokens are a great way to insulate yourself on the ground. It makes people feel like they're wasting their combat to have to like slam into a bunch of tokens. And that might be what we need. Maybe we need to buy time. But what I would love even more is for us to have ways to make those also aggressive. And we really don't have a whole lot of that. We don't have like pack attack in here. We don't have...
Sure.
Volatile Claws isn't currently in the deck. And it seems to me that we're more of an aggressive deck, so we want to be leaning in that direction.
Like I think that if we're going to be on like quote unquote the aggro plan, I don't think our commander contributes to that using those cards in the same way that like any other token commander would. I think this kind of a commander utilizes the fact that its creatures generated off of a spell that triggers it.
Yeah.
Rather than like things to swarm the board, like it would be in a gut deck or in a Pyromancer, young Pyromancer deck or Third Path Iconoclast deck.
So strange. It's like mid-rangey kind of.
Yeah, but you don't sacrifice really much because Dragonrage Channeler gets very aggressive very quickly on its own as a very powerful threat. So you kind of have the ability to kind of have your cake and eat it too sometimes. And there will be games where you just like have the tokens and you can get in good profitable attacks with them.
Yeah. So we need 7 cuts. I like the mana where we've got it.
I think the 3 prowess creatures can go.
3 prowess creatures.
The Kenra, Sanguinary Mage, and Dwarven Forge Chanter. The 1/3s. I do like those cards a lot, but maybe not here.
Are those worse or better than Sawblade Scamp? Sawblade Scamp is nice because it's one of the troubles you run into with these like red aggro decks is
that it's a clock.
It's a clock, and it's just like
I like Sawblade Scamp a lot better. That's much more of the kind of card we want.
You think about it this way: Sawblade Scamp, in conjunction with 1 spell a turn, is actually a 1 mana 3/3.
Sure.
That doesn't have to attack in combat.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think it's better than the power creatures for sure.
So put these ones in the sideboard for now. I think I do want to keep those ones in mind. Scrapwork Mutt, are we hot on this? We do get to cast it from the yard, which is kind of cool. We actually didn't look at the other Unearth cards, right? There's another one, the
big
Juggernaut,
one.
right?
Yeah. It's Scourge Devil. That's interesting.
Oh.
If we want to go harder on tokens, but
This one's not very compelling to me. I
Yeah,
like this
Scourge
one in like
Devil is
Amber,
one that
but
makes you think.
yeah, I think this one does make me think for sure. Um,
So I think at this point you need to consider like when you're surveilling every turn, I think that going heavier into artifacts rather than tokens is a much better long-term plan
mhm.
because you can draw cards much easier and you can actually like use the cards that you're surveilling. Because if you surveil something to the top and you can't draw it, then like you're just waiting a turn to
Right.
get it. And artifacts give you a really great synergistic way to be able to utilize the top of your library effectively,
Yeah.
which is why, again, like to go back to Mirror Retrieval Workshop Assistant, like they're creatures that can block, they're creatures that you can sacrifice to rebuy things, that sort of stuff. So you can grind a lot. So like aggressive decks that can grind, I think are pretty threatening.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like gut can grind,
Yeah.
right? And that's one of the many reasons why that deck is so powerful. But like, it's just worth exploring that.
What about
Um,
Alchemist File?
so when you're looking at artifacts to draw cards, you want to prioritize ones where, like, by drawing a card with them, you are not sacrificing most of their utility.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, Otherwise, it's just a thing, right? Like that's why like Chromatic Star is so good because you can either sacrifice it and draw a card off of Voltage Surge, or you can sacrifice it, get a mana, and still draw your card. Um, I do like Jack-o'-lantern. That's one you still have to activate, but it's a little bit of graveyard hate. Um,
Oh, interesting. So this is a card that this is actually pretty sweet.
yeah, it's a neat little nugget.
Right? Like you're getting your card draw, and it doesn't do anything from the yard that we care about,
Hmm.
but it
And
does.
plus, the other thing about going a heavier artifact route is that artifacts are like a less common card type that helps fuel delirium a little bit better. So it's easier to get that going.
Yeah. Are
Um,
there any of these like Manolith Plus cards that we want to play? Given the fact
no,
that they're like, um,
I think they're a big no.
the only thing
They're just
is
pricey.
they're expensive, but you know when you were talking about like we're kind of mid rangey, right? And it's like the deck doesn't look like it because
So I think it's going to be a trap to fall down the path of cards that like give you like draw like Mind Stone or
mhm,
Network Terminal. Like we're going to be selecting the top card of our library very organically, and we
yeah,
don't need to force it.
right, that makes
Um,
sense. We don't want relic
and that's
because we like
that's
our
a
yard.
huge benefit. Yeah, we don't want Relic. It's what gives a deck like a commander like this like a huge advantage over others because like we don't need to go out of our way to keep the gravy chain rolling. It all just plays very naturally together.
What do we,
Terrarian's the other one that I like. I like one mana spells a lot
this one's
in
interesting
this
too. This
slot.
one gives you a buff, but it's super expensive. It's actually
Yeah, I
really
don't like that one
expensive.
so much.
I hate that card. Wow, it is awful.
The thing about Terrarian is that like the reason why I like cards like this and Chromatic Spheres because worst case scenario they just break even on mana for you and you draw a card, right? Like you can sacrifice it for 2 mana, get 2 red, and then draw your card anyway, even if you aren't sacrificing it for greater value.
Mm,
Um,
it's like banking it.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. It's basically just a low cost way again to just clear the top of your library and draw whatever you kept
how
there.
would you compare that with
Um,
something like spare supplies? So paying one
because
more mana for it, you're gonna draw a card still. But the thing is actually like you can't just draw a card off this. You know, this and that's like it's coming to play tapped,
yeah, not on the same turn.
right?
I
Unless
mean
you
maybe
have
spare
a
supplies is better.
sacrifice or something. But this thing is kind of cool. It's like we're getting a surveil, we're drawing a card, and then we can sack it later on to draw
Yeah,
another card. I kind of like that.
yeah. Now that I see that card again, I probably haven't seen that card in a while, but yeah, I like that card.
And that's every
Now that I've had a
artifact
chance to look
here
at it
that
again,
says draw.
like even like Furnace Skull Bomb. Again, like the activated ability to put oil counters on things is not particularly relevant most of the time. I mean, Strawblade Scamp obviously is the only card that it cares about, but it sacrifices draw a card. It costs 1 mana, 1 to activate, which is kind of like the
I would just play like gold egg,
where I
right?
like them to sit. Gold
Like
Egg's
gold.
better.
Yeah, gold egg's better, right? Or something. Just something that's like.
Conjurer's Bauble is kind of like one that I like a lot.
And then you're saying like chromatic sphere might be in there too. I mean,
Mhm.
I have a
It's
tough
worse
one
than
with
Star,
this
but
one. Like I guess it's because we're playing it because it's a one
yeah.
mana cantrip that surveils and it's an artifact. And
Mhm.
so like that's the focus there that you're talking about is like because the artifacts are kind of like the type that we're trying to um, get to. Um,
And honestly, I may play something like Chromatic Sphere over something like Lotus Pedal that just provides a mana,
that's
even though it's a
true.
zero-cost
I mean,
artifact.
Lotus Pedal is
Um,
a bit do nothing in some ways. I
yeah,
mean, it does something. It's like you're surveilling.
it may be more cute than functional.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I'd much rather play something that can draw us a card in that slot.
yeah. Um,
Oh, make sure you take off the Kenra, Nimbleboard
oh wait.
Kenra, and the creatures.
Oh, did I not get that? Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
So
he's still there.
so this is under sideboard. Um, okay.
And do we want to cut Scrapwork Mud for now?
I
Because I do like that. I think this card's very functional.
Yeah, it seems good. I don't hate it. It's
Because
really
again, like
cool that we can
we have the
cast it from the
luxury
yard.
of playing. We have the luxury of playing a lot of our creatures for utility and
Hmm.
just like blocking rather than just like things that need to be threats. Because our commander's like a huge threat.
Right, right. I'm open to it. We have 6 cards to cut, so the question
Hmm.
is like, where is our flex? Um,
Probably the more expensive stuff, if I had to, if
yeah,
just like
yeah.
off the top of my head.
So
Like Crimson Fleet Commodore, I might
I mean,
cut
these are
until if we find that, like, I mean, maybe it's something where we find that having the Monarch is something that this deck ends up needing a lot, then maybe we can try it again. But I just like in a vacuum, again, like keeping it strictly to the sorts of card advantage that we want to maximize. Um, it's a little outside of that. It doesn't
yeah.
play as well with our other cards.
I agree. I agree. So now, if we looked at our balance of effects here, of 21 artifacts, we have 14 creatures, 16 sorceries, 19 instants, 7
Mhm.
enchantments. So it looks like enchantments is maybe a section that, if we were thinking about maximizing our opportunities for turning on Delirium, that would be.
I, I don't think it'll be that hard with the spread we have now.
Let's take a look at the auras and see what stuff we might want. The other thing that I wanted to look at too is oh shoot, I'm losing it now. I just had the thought and then it went away. It left me. Um, enchant artifact or creature +2. Oh, it's a
See,
plus 2 power for 1
it's
mana.
unholy strength. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's really good in this deck. Turning
it doesn't seem bad to me at all.
yeah, and I don't even think we have Fur of the Bitten in here
No,
yet.
we don't.
Yeah. Oh, this is what I was going to mention. Uh, um, instant speed ways to sacrifice creatures. Um,
Oh, sure,
like
yeah.
collateral damage is one. Bloodfire Infusion reminded me of it. Um,
Hmm.
because these allow us to also protect our commander against an oubliette. Um,
Yeah.
which might be the only thing though. And Zach, actually, my buddy Zach and I were talking about this today, and he mentioned, he said, I think that actually oubliette played incorrectly decreases your win percentage, and his reason for that is that you basically take one player and you say, now it's a 1v1 between you and I, while you're
Hmm.
also doing this other, there's a sub game that
Yeah.
forms. And
Sure.
so you don't really want to do that against this deck, because this deck actually does have reach, and it will throw
Hmm.
burn spells at your face to unlock
Yeah.
the commander. Okay, we got Bestial Fury here. This is kind of an interesting card. Is this the one that I'm thinking of? No, I'm thinking of
If it's blocked, it gets power. Yeah.
something different. There's one that Blood Rush. There's Fur of the Bitten.
Bloodlust. +4/-4.
It's the one that gives, it makes them sacrifice the creature after it's done.
Oh,
Where is it?
dude, I don't know.
This is Aura. So it's okay. So we can actually go sacrifice. Oh, it's not an aura. This is an instant, and it's +4 bestial. Attacking. Wait, sacrifice. Type instant. Sacrifice. Oracle creature. Okay, maybe I can get rid of
Something
that.
that steals a creature.
No, it Okay, so what it does is it gives a big buff to it, and then they sack it at the end of combat.
I'm not familiar.
Maybe it's not sacrifice. Maybe it's destroy. Yeah, it might be destroy. Creature, and then we'll just give it the plus and see what that picks up.
Blood Frenzy, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, Blood Frenzy.
There
Attacking
we
or
go.
blocking creature gets +4/+0, any creature, so you can cast it on your opponent's creatures. And then at the
Yep.
end of the turn, they destroy that creature. This is like a terminate that
Interesting.
deals damage to our opponents, right?
Yeah.
Am I crazy, or is this reasonable?
I don't think you're crazy.
I kind of like it. It's like Coronation of Chaos a little bit, right? Where you're like
A little bit.
getting other people to do
Yeah,
the thing.
Yeah, it's like Berserk.
Yeah. Let's throw it in and see. What about Pack Attack? This is another one that I'd glossed over. Drawing a card, buffing up the team. If we just like send in the tokens, it's another option we could consider. Although it kind of leans a little more into the sort of Mog War Marshal territory, right?
I'm hesitant to like stray too far from like a dedicated plan because like we've touched on it many times. Like there's a lot of ways that you can like go with this commander, and I think that kind of going outside the lane too far is gonna.
Let's go back to where we were here.
The way I envision it is it's just you're just playing a steady stream of cards that lets you surveil again and again and again and again and again, and then just like generate advantage or card advantage with your onboard permanents, to kind of like just facilitate Dragon Rage Channeler attacking every turn.
What about this one, Claws of Valakut? This is, as some people have described it, it's kind of like cranial plating, but in red. And
I don't think we need to. I honestly don't think like we need to add a lot of auras or anything like that. I think our balance is going to be pretty good, and we're going to be churning through cards pretty effectively because like a lot of the spells that we're playing are proactive, like very effective proactive spells. So it's not like we're going to be sitting with like a bunch of cards in our hand, not casting anything, and like until we have a chance to react. You know, like we're going to be killing creatures. We're going to be sacrificing artifacts. We're going to be surveilling lands. Like things are just going to find their way into the graveyard, and we don't need to like min max like type distributions in order to do it. I think it'll happen very naturally. There'll be games where it doesn't, but like that's just going to happen no matter what you do. So.
Right. Zonko here measured Bloodfire Infusion is my pet card. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one for sure. I don't know why my my chat window here isn't showing your comment there, Zonko. It's really interesting. I wonder why that is. But yeah, I see that there. Bloodfire is great. I don't think this is the right deck for it necessarily. It's kind of cool, but it's also a little expensive to do in this deck. I don't think we want to sack our DARCY to do that either. But it is, it's a 3 damage sweeper. Just comes at a bit of a price.
Yep, sure does.
There's Immolation's another one of those, right? Turn it into a 5/1. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's also like a removal spell.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I kind of like that. Yeah. In fact, I used to use Immolation as sideboard tech against ATOG.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, because you could put it on the ATOG and they could never keep it alive. So, oh, you know what? We have missed a card.
Which one?
It is an aura. It is Impetus. The Impetus cards.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. This is something we definitely want, right?
Yeah.
Goading a creature,
like
making treasures, putting more pressure on people, making other people attack each other. This is all in the wheelhouse right here. This card, these cards, I've actually started playing a lot of these cards lately, because I have been destroyed by them.
Yeah, they're not bad. They play a lot better than they read.
Yeah, they do. They really do. It's a card where the text is a lot more than what it looks like. I know we're adding cards right now, but I feel like we didn't do a search for auras to like see what's there. And these cards, there's a way to turn a card into a Lacolith?
Yeah.
What the hell? Dude, that's so strong. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, the Lacolith cycle are 2 creatures at common, Lackalith Grunt and Lackalith Whelp, I think it is. And both of them are like not big creatures, but they say whenever the creature becomes blocked, you may have it deal damage equal to its power to target creature, any creature. If you do, enchanted creature doesn't deal any combat damage. So it's first strike, in a way. Or if your creature is big enough and they have to chump block, then it's just kill something on the board over and over again, like repeatedly. So I play this in Oxida Finisher. Not this right here, but I play both the Lackaliths in Oxida Finisher because you just like throw equipment on them and attack people, and they kind of need to chump.
How do we feel about like instant speed auras here, like Lotola's Orders or Lightning Reflexes? Does Lightning Reflexes give power, or is it just first strike?
Whoa, okay. Why does it have so much text? What the hell? Oh, this is...
Because you can cast it as an instant, and if you do, you sacrifice it in a turn.
Yeah. Okay, so you can cast it as an... Oh, it's just a really complicated way of...
Yeah.
Wait, the controller of the permanent, it becomes...
So the templating is weird, but basically what it does is if you can cast it as a flash, if you cast it as an instant, basically, you have to sacrifice at the end of the turn.
But you sacrifice the aura, right?
Yes, the aura.
Okay, that would be sweet if you could put it on other people's
So you can use it as a combat trick,
mm-hmm.
or you can use it as an aura. But if you use that as a combat trick, it'll die. It'll be an enchantment in the graveyard.
Right.
That's something. I mean, like something that you'll find is that being able to surveil at instant speed is really, really kind of where you want to be.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of the time.
I felt that when I played the deck before. It was like I wanted things to be instant speed, to set up the draws for my next draw. Right.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I don't think there are many that have flash, but you know.
Yeah. Jin Shooting Star, what's up, dude? Good to have you here. I have a love-hate relationship with Darcy. It shouldn't be so damn good in Legacy. Yeah, but you know, Darcy was never the problem. Darcy's really good, but the problem was always expressive iteration, and I'm pleased to see that they made the right choice around that and banned it. This is a deck that was much more interesting and balanced as a tempo deck than as a mid-range deck that just got to do everything and always had answers for everything. Okay, so that's pretty good. Got some haste, some pingers. See if there's anything else we're missing. The fire breathing definitely had me thinking. I had not had that on my radar. I'll be honest.
Yeah, that's the one. It's a good, like Dragon's Mantle is a card that's easy to overlook, but again, it just does like a bunch of different things. It's a really good card.
Are we playing the Brute? This is the casual approach, folks. You play you play Shrine Steward to find the Brute, and you.
Taste for Mayhem it kind of intrigues me a little bit.
Taste for Mayhem.
Yeah.
Oh, what? That's cracked. That is so decent, right? Good. 1 mana 4.
I think it's at least worth testing.
That's gonna get
this is a deck
our
where you're
Darcy
go
killed. I'll tell you that 7-power Darcy is not okay. Yeah, because I would totally go Hellbent to make this happen. But you don't even need to. It's still Fur of the Bitten, basically. Tillinolly's Crown is interesting as well. I kind of like these 2 mana +3/+0 plus a keyword cards. So I'll just add this to the sideboard for now. I think those are the only ones here that we're interested in.
Yeah, none of these are really appealing in this shell.
Yeah.
Veteran's Voice is a cool card because you can like tap channel or whatever to like prevent it from attacking and pump something else. If you have like a bad attack, but
tap enchanted creature, target creature other than this creature.
Yeah.
Oh, weird. Activate only if enchanted creature is untapped. What a weird bit of language there, given that you have to tap a creature that is untapped. Okay, yeah.
A lot of these old cards, so yeah.
Some funkiness there. Okay, cool. So I feel like we did that justice. That was I think we found a couple of cards in there that I'm really glad we did because they're important.
Yes, let's go look at our equipment here. So like,
okay, so ceremonial knife.
I think that if we're gonna, it might be worth, maximizing like our bone splitters.
Yeah.
Like
there's 2 more.
Aki, like those 2 auras, Taste for Mayhem,
I
and
think this
Fear
one
of the
goes.
Bitten, and Aki Warpaint.
Yep.
Yeah.
And actually, what about the Vanquisher's Axe and Darksteel Axe? Both of those are also, 1 mana to play, 2 mana to equip,
Yeah.
and then they're just a bone splitter. I really like those cards because of the
Yeah.
persistence of them. I almost like them more than Madcap skills,
I do too. And granted, like if we're pushing in a more artifact-oriented direction, which I think is
I
I
think
think the way that we've built it is in kind of going towards what we should be doing.
this
I think
comes
backup
out.
skills is a cut, yeah.
Yeah, this goes out. We'll throw it in. I just think it
I think
goes.
auras are a harder sell, but like there's some enchantments that are good.
If
Oh,
they're
there's an
1 mana
enchantment.
and they're 2+2+0, I like it a lot.
Well, so there's also an enchantment that was in Modern Horizons 2. It's a red card. It's 4 mana. At the beginning of combat, you give something +2/+0, and it mountain cycles. I don't know if that's something that's interesting to you or not. It's like war battle plans.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no, it's basic land cycling. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Sorry,
basic.
not mountain
Yeah,
cycling.
basic. Crap.
So like using our enchantment slots for like these utility sorts of things, like that and Bitter Reunion might
Yeah,
be kind of like the vein of enchantment we want to devote more attention to. I think
battle
Taste
plan.
for Mayhem, Taste for Mayhem is obviously like really good in a deck where we're going to be going Hellbent a lot of the time.
This is pretty cool.
But yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, it's expensive, which I don't like, but it's
Cleansing
something you pitch to.
Wildfire? Whoa, we
Yeah, that's a
forgot
good
about
card too.
that. That actually,
Yeah, that might be worth playing.
I think that's good enough to play. We are a red deck where we're not necessarily going to be able to like tutor up effects, and usually when I play a land
Hey,
destruction, I want it to have
we
another effect. But
can live the dream of cleansing wildfiring our Darksteel Citadel.
we totally can. Yeah, that's a thing we could absolutely do, and it's only a 2-card combo, really. Like turn 1, Darcy. Turn 2, Darksteel Citadel, tap it, Cleansing Wildfire, go up to 3 mana, draw a card, Surveil.
Yeah, it's
So
not bad.
yeah, I like it. So wait, the Surveil though gets shuffled, doesn't it?
Oh, it would. Yeah, but we can bin it. That's why it's better than
We can bin
scrying,
it.
right? Like
Okay.
we can bin the card.
Yeah, it's like a
We just
mill.
add a card to our graveyard.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not bad.
Oh, look at this Ecologist Terrarium as well. Get a basic land card. You can sack it later on to put a counter on a creature.
Yeah, I don't like these things that like search for lands though, because we want to be controlling the top of our library, and like if we don't like what we have on top, we don't want to shuffle it away. We want to bin it.
Yeah.
So like that's why like Mycosynth Wellspring is like not great, but like it's a
Yeah.
serviceable card, but it's definitely not that great.
Not exactly where we want to be.
Yeah, that's why Battle Plan is pretty good, because you're
I
not
like this.
getting a Surveil trigger off the mountain off the land cycle. You're not getting a trigger. You can just get a land, and if you want to
late
clear
game,
the
this
top
is
of your deck,
great.
yeah, you're not wasting a Surveil trigger on it to get the land, and it's a functional card if you cast it.
Yeah. So Buddha Dragon MTG, what's up, dude? Glad to have you here. It's nice to have you
You're
back.
welcome.
It says this is shaping up to be a very interesting build. Glad I was able to catch this. Even my 3-year-old
Yeah.
dog is watching. Well, tell your dog that they're a
He has good
scholar and a
taste.
saint. Yeah, you've got fantastic taste. Definitely a connoisseur of the finest of
Oh no,
Connor.
the 3-year-old, not the
cards.
3-year, not the 3-year-old dog, the 3-year-old, a human child.
I saw old and I read dog. What
Oh,
happened
man.
to me? I'm glad that you caught that. Your
Ryan.
3-year-old is watching. That's even
Apologies.
cooler. Yeah, my apologies. Your 3-year-old dog.
I'll type it in chat for you.
I'm so embarrassed. Yeah, no, your 3-year-old is watching and enjoying this. That's significantly more impressive.
But this also is a dog-friendly stream if you have a 3-year-old.
If you have a 3-year-old dog and you have it watching the stream and it's enjoying this, I'm really glad that we are able to provide that entertainment for your canine friend.
That's right.
But God, that's so funny. These streaming gaffes are great.
Yeah.
I actually kind of relish in them because we're not perfect, and that's why people like to watch streams. So we've got Geomancer's Gambit is another one that I hadn't thought of either. Another like cantripping land destruction effect. Lands that we care about are
Actually, you know what? These cards are actually a lot better now because the enchantment stuff is actually a lot more popular, I think, now, right? Like the Gretchen stuff.
Yeah, no, it's very good. Yeah, let's try it. Let's chase the rabbit hole a little bit here.
I will say, while we have Goblin Caves and Goblin Shrine on the screen, I would like to come back and build a Goblins deck with you at some point.
Yeah. No, this is okay. So I recently lost to a Goblins deck, Battlecry Goblin. And it got me thinking about both of these cards because that was super scary. And Goblin Caves is an amazing card. I've been putting this in 60 card
True to my predilections. I've been conceptualizing goblins a little bit as a black-red deck,
Yeah, yeah,
with a lot of the grindy stuff.
yeah.
But I think it might be fun to explore sometime.
Yeah, let's so a great card to play in that zone, if I can pull it up here, is
Yeah, don't want to get too off topic. Just something that
yeah,
I
yeah,
thought of in the
I
moment.
know, I know. Is Munitions Expert.
Yes, this card's great. I
Yep,
love it.
this would be
If
a
this
great
would be my
card.
go-to.
Yeah, great card for the command zone. And it gives us black, which means we can play some great card draw. We get black
Yep.
goblins. It's got flash.
Get the
It's an
you get the
ETB.
recursion spells that give you two
You can like
things.
unearth it. You can like undying evil
Hmm.
it. It's kind of gross, actually. We should do this. Will be
Yeah,
let's put this one on the list here. Those of you watching
yeah,
are getting an inside scoop on our decision making process for these let's builds.
yeah.
It's like
If you've been tracking my participation on these streams, you will yet again be exposed to a deck where I amass an enormously too large list of dirtily creatures that generate value.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But Goblin Caves, man, putting like 2 of these in front of
Hmm.
a creature is 6 toughness.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah. It's a
You
cool
can
card.
block a
I love
lot
it.
of things with it. I think this would be a really cool thing to build around. It's an
Yeah.
enchant land too, which means you can tutor this as an aura. So you can get this with Shrine Steward.
Yep.
Same with this one right here. Although if the land leaves play, you lose all your goblins. So
You have to play it though.
yeah, you got to play it. I mean, it's a really
You
good
gotta risk
card,
it.
right? I mean, it's +1
Look,
+0 to all your goblins.
I have a reputation for building all in tribal decks, so that's what
We're
gonna
gonna
do.
do it, and it's gonna be a great deck. As all of the cards all the decks that we've built together so far have been more than reasonable. I'll put it that way.
Exactly, that's
Yeah,
exactly how I'd put it.
yeah, more
All
than
right, let's
reasonable.
see.
Yeah. Okay, so none of this other stuff is
Not particularly compelling.
what are we even looking for? Lands? Why are we doing? Because of this. That's why that's how we
Yes,
got
that's the
here.
card we're looking
Yeah,
for.
battle plan, wildfire. Gambit. We got lost in the sauce there, chat. But it's okay.
Yes,
This is
it's
what we
bound
do.
to happen.
It's what we do. Yeah. Okay.
So we need to cut 12 cards.
What have we
We're
done?
back.
Yeah, we're
And
back.
we're back.
And
All
we're
right.
back. Yeah.
Um,
Galvanic Relay, is that a card that we're interested in? It's like going to be like 3 mana
I've
draw
played
2.
it. Yeah, it's not
Eh,
impressive.
yeah.
If we're gonna be like replacing cards like cantripping, I want it to be with 1 mana spells. Like I said, like the point in the game to which you can start binning all of your basic lands is like kind of the sweet spot
Yeah.
for where you want to be. So like expensive cards really stretch that and like ask you to play more lands, basically ask you to hit more land drops. And when you can skip that, I think you're in a much better position.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that's the only cards that have the function loot?
Mm-hmm.
How?
Yeah, red card draw image, man.
Huh. There's a lot more of those.
Yep.
Oh, belligerent guest didn't make the cut. Oh.
That's fine by me. I'm okay with that. See, big score. This is
Yeah.
like with that card where it has a big upfront cost, which I don't like. But
Yeah.
you get 2 treasures on the back end and 2 cards, so it's just like a tormenting voice that
Yep.
is costed a little bit different. But the treasures are a really important resource.
Yeah. Yeah. The only reason I mentioned belligerent guest is just
Mhm.
this card traditionally for me, in my experience, has been
Good card.
cracked. Yeah, very good. I like big score too. What are some of the other?
Unfortunately, we cannot mutate a Cloud Piercer onto our Dragon Treasure.
This is
Channeler.
sick.
What does this card do? So it's like a almost free 4/3 if we hit our opponent.
Oh, but wait, we have to pay the 4 up front.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
then we have to use the
we'd have
mana?
to use the mana.
What about first day of class? It's like we have a rummage, and it's going to give creatures a buff, but that's not really good. Nope. We would want to look into this if we were going heavier into tokens.
Right. There's definitely like a really cool tokens build.
I
of
think
this
there's a
deck you can
build.
do, but
Merchant of the Veil is one that we actually have not talked about yet. This
Yeah.
is a really good card. I have it in my list.
maybe I'm just being
Isn't
too
this-
cautious about it.
If we surveil
This
this,
is-
is this an instant and a creature?
What do you mean if we surveil it?
If we surveil it into the graveyard,
Mhm.
is it
No, it's a
both-
creature.
It's just a creature.
Yep. It's a
Hmm.
creature. The card itself is a creature, yeah.
I like this card though. Instant loot,
I
which
like
is
it too.
basically like the artifacts, right? It's the same
Yeah, if we're gonna loot
concept.
though, I do
Or
like.
it's
I
a
mean,
rummage,
I
I
do
guess.
like Aureate of Mountain's Blaze. If we're gonna have a card that does that, this is a 2 mana card, which I prefer. It's an enchantment creature, which is helpful. Granted, I'm
We're
not
not getting a
convinced this is
surveil
like.
though. Oh, it's an enchantment
That's true.
creature. Oh
Right.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
convinced this is an effect that we need or like a slot we need to fill. But like between the two of those cards, I think it's fairly
I think
close.
I'm gonna add that to considering. It's worth looking
Hmm.
into. It's like Scrapwork Mutt in a sense. It's kind of doing a similar
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
Here's another big score type card. Um,
Yep.
Epic Valdarin Epicure also
Not bad.
is
But
not a bad
you know,
card.
I don't think we need it though. I don't
Blood
think it's what
tokens aren't
where we
premium in
want
this
to be.
deck. We surveil the lands into the graveyard. We don't necessarily
Yep.
discard them. We will draw extra lands sometimes,
Yeah.
but that's yeah. So and I think both of these are going to go in considering as well. That one and
Hmm.
Big Score are both
Yeah, those are I like a lot.
yeah yeah. Instant speed, loot, make some treasures, um, helps like offset all the lands that we're going to be getting rid of. Okay, so
Right.
cards we can cut. And we got to look at the balance here. We have 15 creatures, 18 instant sorceries, 20 instants, 20 artifacts, and 12 enchantments. We're actually at a pretty nice
Yeah.
number. So I would almost say that part of it is going to be shaving across the board.
Right. I think shaving some of the clunkier, like the sorcery
Lotus
speed.
Pedal.
Yep. Get rid of that.
It's funny.
Sorcery.
Lotus Pedal just never makes the
Some
cut.
of these auras. What are these? I think we should trim these auras a little bit. If
Battle
I
plan. So we have Blood Frenzy. This card could go, but uh, what?
I think let's
Can we try
move it for
this? Can we
now.
try it? Can we please?
Okay, let's try it.
Come on,
Let's try it.
mom,
Let's
mom.
That's fine. I think we should trim down these auras a little bit. I think Immolation is interesting as a removable spell. I
Mhm.
like Taste for Mayhem, because the ceiling on it is like super high.
Yeah. These two are
Might
premium
cut
here. This
if we
one's better
find
than
that like
Fur.
yeah, I might cut those for now. If we
Impetus
find that we
seems
like Taste for
great.
Mayhem, make room for it.
Man, they're so good. I love the idea of playing these on turn 2. It is such a clock.
I know.
It is such a fast clock. It's faster than like some of the other stuff we're doing in here is nowhere near this good. Like, in fact, even the token
Sure.
generators are not this good, right? Because if we go and putting them in the graveyard too, it's a card type that is a little more unusual.
Sure. So let's look at the token generators. Let's
Yeah.
let's see what that looks
We
like.
got to approach
So
this
let's
with
cut.
and actually speaking of
Let's
which,
cut like
combustion. This one here, kind of doing nothing. 1 mana, deal 1 damage.
I,
Is this
I like
better
it. I'm not
than?
gonna lie.
Is this better than like Haggle?
Because this is like a suite of cards that we need. I think it is better than Haggle,
Is it
certainly. Because
really?
yeah, because I think that we have a lot of we have a lot of ways to like put like artifacts into the graveyard from the battlefield that are very, very powerful, and we need things to fuel them.
Mhm.
We also need things to sit on the battlefield to act as, like I said, things we can sacrifice to clear the top of our deck or draw the top part of our library.
I mean, there's going to be
And we want
I think
they just end up playing a lot better than you'd think.
I think that one of the cool things I'm excited to try with these is to have them all in play. And then you just like, and maybe you didn't need to use them. You had what you needed. And then you can like sack a sequence of them to get like a big burst of cards, which is kind of exciting. It's just that this is like both of these all three of these really are
dinky.
do nothing.
Yeah.
Whereas like Panic Spellbomb and Pyrite Spellbomb are
here's
very
the thing, though,
do
is that
something,
they aren't do nothing because they all surveil 1.
Yeah, but I think you're right. You're right, and we are selecting for cards to surveil. So that is already a floor that we're at, where we're kind of like, yeah, we're looking for cards to surveil. That's why we have creatures like that's why we don't have Mog War Marshal, but we do have Krenko's Command.
Right.
And so I don't like. So while it is fine, the question would be, is it
Because we also do need to have a threshold of artifacts to fuel
cheap
like
stuff,
the big payoffs.
Yeah. I don't want to cut them. That's the thing. I just I wanted to look at Goad too. I know we're trying to cut cards, but I just
we can so I think it's fine to cut Coronation of Chaos for now until we kind of like feel out where we want to be. It's a very powerful card, but
I didn't know these cards existed.
Yeah, the Balladeers I like quite a bit.
Yeah. The
cards that make the goaded creatures not be able to block are very, very good.
Wait, target creature an opponent controls can't block this turn? Goad it.
And it's goaded, just like Coronation, except it's one
So
creature.
that means that they can't block with it to get rid of it. Or
Right.
block with it to not.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh boy.
Yeah, they can't block with it to like get around the goad.
I like this card a lot. I think Goad is
it's a really
very
good card.
synergistic with what we're doing. It's like take the pressure off us,
Yeah.
attack somebody else.
What are some of the more like expensive cards?
Yeah,
here?
like okay, so
Like-
Pyroceratops is on the cutting block for me. I like this
Okay.
card, but we have a
Between
3-mana
that
version
and-
of it.
Yes, and I think in the 4-mana slot, I think
Mhm.
Goblin Wizardry is more what we're looking for.
Yeah,
So that
Okay.
can go.
we'll put it in considering. Okay, what about these token makers? I'm beginning to become less bullish on them because we've gone down this path of not playing anthems. We don't have any anthems, so they're just bodies.
Right. I swear because we're gonna have a lower creature count,
Mhm.
so we need ways to not die. Outside of just like burning every creature that looks at us,
So,
which is
so
why I
are
like
the
them.
aggro decks coming after us though?
I think that
I think that would be a.
if we
I think,
present ourselves an easy place to throw gut tokens, I think certainly.
but
Like,
but if there's a combo
I think would be the
player,
low hanging fruit.
is Gut gonna
'Cause
come
this next-
after us?
The issue is that like this deck may not be doing incredibly powerful things super fast, but it is doing a lot of things early in the game, which spooks people. I play a lot of decks that do similar things. They just like take a lot of game actions, and while they're not particularly threatening game actions, there's such a density of them that people
Mhm.
just assume you're up to no good and want to kill you, which is certainly something that has happened to me playing this deck as well.
So, from a game theory standpoint, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, like that the way we build our decks and then the honesty with which we present the deck and the strategy we're given gives us a lot of tells us a lot about what the other players at the table should be doing.
Right.
And I tend to think that aggro decks generally want to be working together until they get into a 1v1 with each other, and then they can.
We can try.
Right.
We can cut these 2-mana like token spells and see how it works.
I don't-
Again, it's just.
I'm a huge
Yeah, I mean, I
proponent
think
of playing token cards and cards like Hard Evidence, Seagate Oracle, Augur of Bolus.
Right. I think
Philology
in this deck,
Archaeologist.
like
I
Throne of
love
the the God Pharaoh card is like our hard evidence, right? Like it just makes a 1/1 and draws us some cards. But like I think cutting Dragon Fodder, Krako's Command, Forbidden Friendship, even Goblin Wizardry, like for the time being, and see how it plays. Maybe it's something where we find that we want to play more of them.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like getting 100 cards that we can take into a game, it might be worth cutting.
Yeah,
Just
Goblin
to,
Wizardry I think gets the pass because you've got prowess, right? But
Sure.
we did cut the
It's an
prowess
instant, too.
cards. I mean, we
Yeah,
we-
let's cut these token cards.
Yeah,
and you know what? Let's put
considering-
Pyroceratops back in.
Yeah, because the Ceratops is like better. Oh, what is it doing? Hold on one sec.
Oh, you're just
It's
yeah.
scrolling. It's doing the auto scroll. It's a bug on this software.
right, because Pyroceratops is just another threat that people point a removal spell at over a commander, right?
Right. Yeah, and I think that's really good. Like we do want to create that tension, what like I call it cognitive dissonance,
Yeah.
which is a psychology.
So like cutting
term.
4 cards, putting 1 back. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I think that's good, and it's the card that we're putting back is a card that we're like reasonably sure is going to be a good card.
Yeah, you put 1 counter on it. It's a 3-mana. It's a 4-mana 3/4 trampler. That's only going to get bigger, and like all of our spells are efficient. Like when we're controlling top of our library, we're going to have ways to trigger it.
Real quick, I need to look at the double strike because that's interesting.
It is. That actually makes the artifacts, like the cantrip artifacts, a lot better.
Right. Oh, wait a second. There's another card. Oh man, this is such a weird one though too. It's a goblin artifact, not artifact goblin. CMC equals 1. This is a new card that got printed. It's a 1 permanent? Yeah, Goblin Blast Runner. This is a 3/2 menace. If you've sacrificed a creature this turn or a permanent this turn.
I don't think it belongs here.
No,
if I'm
but
being honest.
it was something that kind of just.
It's a really cool card though.
Right. It comes to mind thinking about this.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any more of these
Yeah.
effects.
Right.
Because I really like. I think this is one of the better cards in the deck. It's gonna be an
Yeah, it's a
absolute
card that
house.
should see a lot more play than it does, I
It
think.
really should. I mean, like cards like that are easier to play in this format than they are in 60 card because they just
Hmm.
die to something in 60 card, and they can't get through. They don't know, often have trample,
Yeah.
but the ability to just abyss somebody every turn in multiplayer is great.
Right.
So okay, good.
Let's go
So
back here. Let's
this
cut Renegade Tactics. I'm
renegade
like a lot of
tactics.
these the clunky 1 mana cantrips, like
Okay,
the sorcery speed ones. I think I'm less high on, and I think we've made the case that
I
like
like
Warlord's Fury is
I
the better
like
version
this
of that.
one and the anthem.
Yeah,
They are
I
sorcery
think.
speed.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know. I think like those two are good though because they give keywords.
Yeah, and they give it to your whole
Um,
team. It's truly like a big, a big buff
yeah,
for
right.
what you're doing. So,
But yeah, we're
um,
gonna have to like probably cut some cards we like here, like either like one of the Expedite and or Crimson Wisps if we're playing like Boots of
what
Speed
about in this
as a
removal
haste
section,
enabler.
like Mind Collapse? This
Okay,
isn't.
yeah, let's get Mind
Yeah,
Collapse.
Mind Collapse is
Let's
like
start. Let's start with that.
it's kind of
It's a tough one.
it's mid. This card would be cracked if it didn't have that stupid clause about your main, you're during your main phase or you're during your
Yeah.
turn or whatever.
So like I kind of don't like Lava Dart. I mean, it does what we want to be
Hmm.
doing, but it's such low impact
It's very derpy.
that like yeah,
I agree. Thunderclap's a completely different story. In fact, if we were
yes,
looking
that card's very
at
good.
Lava Dart, I would prefer that we had Fire Blast. Um,
There's also like a Crash, right? That's a 3 mana sorcery you can cast for free by sacrificing a mountain that destroys an artifact. But not that we need it, but like it's a card that exists in the card pool.
oh yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
That's a good
But I do
card.
like Shenanigans better than that card in this deck, if I'm
Uh
being
huh.
honest.
And we don't have Shenanigans in the deck right now. It is in
I think we
our
do. I scroll all the
sideboard.
way up.
Yeah, it's on our
Scroll all the way up to the
sideboard
top.
right here.
Oh, it's right there. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got these. We can cut
So
the
yeah,
3 mana land
do we not
destruction spell.
need two of these, right?
Maybe not two of them, and yeah, the more expensive one can go.
It's funny. The argument you made about the lands really
Mm.
just like resonated with me, and so
Which one? The one about not having them Intertapped?
no, about getting rid of lands as
Oh yeah.
and it's like they're cantrips as well in a deck that
Hmm.
each one of these is like opt. It's like
Sure.
surveil one, draw a card it's
Yeah.
actually they're all consider. It turns all these draw
Hmm.
cards into consider. Um, and blowing, and there's other things we could hit with them, but if we need to cut three, this is going to
Yeah.
be the
I think
one. Other
I don't
than
think we want to be in a game where like nobody's doing any like land shenanigans, and we're just like paying 3 mana for that effect. I mean, it's much less exciting in that regard.
hmm
I think
Now,
the 2 mana one is pretty good, but I don't know about the 3 mana one.
I did put Merchant of the Veil in here.
Yep, that's fine.
I think this is going
I'm
to be a
fine with
really
that.
good card for us.
Yeah, it may very well be better. Yeah, I mean, that's fine with me.
It is. It's not card disadvantage because we get a creature out of it too, and we're getting a trigger, and then we can actually loot
Hmm.
a whole bunch later on. It's a nice mana sink. I've been
Yeah.
very pleased with this card in general. So there's that. Why are our creatures? We have pingers. We have creatures listed as pingers. Is that what it is? Did I do something like that? Yeah, pingers. These
Oh
are
no, they're down there.
creatures. These are creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you just added them to pingers. I don't think you
Ye-
added them to creatures.
Wait.
You drag the
Oh, I
pingers
see.
into the pingers.
Oh, I got it. Okay. I doubled up on it. There we go.
Yeah.
Creatures. Okay. Good. Okay. And then we're actually really close. And I'm confident we can find these. I don't feel the same trepidation that I sometimes feel where I'm looking at like staring down the barrel of 11 cuts and we're just like, how are we going to
So
do this?
I feel like one or more of these auras need to go.
One
If I'm
or
being
more
honest.
of the auras.
Yeah.
So probably not.
Because like the equipment just end up being so much better, and because we're playing like a grindier game, like 3 things that give our creature +2/+2 may not be necessary. I like Taste for Mayhem because the ceiling is so astronomically high on that card.
Yeah. It's a
And Fear of the
nuts.
Pit is good because I'm a big toughness guy, you know
Yeah.
that, so I like the extra 2 toughness on that. Maybe Aki Warpaint can hit the bin, because it's the least exciting to me of those cards. Maybe as much as I like Inferno Fist, maybe that's worth getting rid of
You
here.
know, I was just thinking about that.
Because
Inferno Fist is actually
the spear is a better version.
but this effect is really strong. I
It
actually
is.
have won a lot of draft games off of Lightning Spear, and Inferno Fist is appealing to me because you pay 1 more at the outset than you do the immolation or fur or whatever.
Mhm.
You aren't getting toughness, so there is some mix of bummers there,
Right.
but 2 damage to anything. This is another onboard effect, and people play weird around these
Sure.
cards.
No,
Chat,
you're right.
they these
Cut the Aki Warpaint. Let's get that one out of
this
here.
one here. So wait, hold on one sec. This
That's
one is
this can be
better
a trim.
than fur.
I like the extra point of toughness on Fear.
Okay.
And we're going to be attacking each combat available anyway because we're going to have Delirium.
Okay. We'll do considering on that. We're gonna.
We don't need to
shave.
be just like slapping things on this. We don't need to be like slapping like all these enchantments on Dragon Generation on turn 2. Like that's not kind of what we need to be doing. It'll happen.
I think it's gonna be
we'll
really
grind
good when
people
we
out
do.
with it, but
yeah,
it will be. There'll be games where it's better than not. Oh, we still have that 3 mana thing in here. Get the 3 mana land destruction spell. We can probably cut.
Yeah, it's gotta go. And the funny thing about that card, it puts it
us-
into play untapped, which is not nothing.
Yeah.
How are we on
get rid of one
lands?
card.
Like, what's our average? 2.24 lands per opening hand. Is that really how many we want? I don't think that's what we want. I think we want 2, don't we? Like a little north of 2. So we're
Yeah, you wanna
shaving
cut a land?
lands, right?
We only need to cut 1.
So we go
We're at
down,
100.
remove 1, and that takes us to 2. I would love to get that to 2.1.
Okay, so you want to
So
cut a land, add a spell.
Yeah, I do. I do want to do that.
All right.
And then so I don't think the 3 mana one is our premium spell that we bring in. The card that I was not stoked on cutting is this one. I do think this game plan is going to be strong.
Comfortable with that. Okay. So we got 100.
Wow.
With a pretty good mix of different types.
This is what yeah, exactly. Look at that. It's really nice spread. So let's take this one through. Well, first of all, we can all breathe a sigh of relief. We did it. We got to 100 cards. Give ourselves a little clap, 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 clap. This is always a fun moment. We get to do the classic zoom in on the number 100 here, and our faces. Look at that. That's actually very thematically. Look at this good looking guy here. There we go. So we got. Oh boy. Sorry for you all who are struggling with the psychological damage I just did to you. But okay. Go play test. Let's take this through. Look at this hand, dude. Oh my. Yeah.
I like all these cards.
We're gonna Merchant of the Veil this Goldhound into the graveyard. So yeah, we go.
We sure are.
Draw.
That's a great one.
Yeah. There we go. This hand is gasoline. Land.
Yep. Let's haggle.
Yeah, so we haggle. We're gonna surveil. If we put instant in the graveyard, then we go instant, artifact, creature, and then we can do
Make us exile.
Right. So we don't. So after that, we would need a land, which we can probably get not this turn,
or an artifact.
Or an artifact. Well, we have artifact, right?
Oh, we have artifact. Right.
So we're gonna, and actually we don't draw this right
Enchantment
away.
or
We discard this first, and then we draw this.
Yep.
This goes into exile. Or actually, we'll just do exile right here. And now we have. Oh no! This was the card that we were milling. With
that's a surveil trigger.
And now we discard the Goldhound, and then we draw.
Let's dump those. We've got good interaction in our hand. That's pretty good, but we don't have an artifact yet.
Wait, why is Kuldotha Rebirth still in the deck? The card's good, but like that's one of the token makers.
Sure.
Right?
We're cutting the token things. Yeah.
I mean, it's the most efficient one that there is, and we'd like to sacrifice artifacts, and Dragon Fodder doesn't sack artifacts, so maybe it has a place. But
yeah, let's keep going.
So do we go Crimson Wisps to try and get Delirium here?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, bing, 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 bing.
Done.
Yep, we hit it. We did it, chat. We draw a card,
Now we're
and
drawing a
then
card.
1, 2, 3, hit for 3. So turn 2 is we
Yeah.
really want to be. Yeah, that's pretty sick. Draw a card. Oh,
Now we have 6 damage on Holy Heat.
yep, we sure
Yeah.
do. At this point, we probably go Fur of the Bitten.
Yep.
And then we swing for 5, and then we go. Actually, Underworld Ragehound, we're gonna pitch with Thrill of Possibility.
Yeah, I'd probably hold that 2 mana up, and
And then
then
we
end a turn Thrill.
Okay, so end of turn Thrill. We're going to
Yep, Surveil.
and we're gonna get a Surveil before
Oh no, you have to pitch
pay
to
the
cast.
cost.
It's a cost.
Pitch cost, and then Surveil. We want that.
I would leave that on top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we want that. Draw 2. Wow.
Okay, we're in a good spot here. You know, even you play the Batter Fist, make a 2/2, rebirth it, make 3 1/1s. Now you have a ground force to get in the way.
And we have 1 mana up for Unholy Heat. So Batter Fist.
This is why Batter Fist is busted.
Yeah, Batter Fist is crazy. Surveil that into the yard.
And it surveils, yeah.
Pay 1.
Yeah.
It's like
I don't need lands.
Yeah. Rebel. A cool Rebel token. And then here.
Yep.
So we're gonna get Rebels, and then we're gonna get 3 Goblins. Like that.
Yep.
And this is also
we
gonna
surveil off the rebirth.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
this is what I'm talking about. We're like,
I think
it's very powerful to be generating tokens and surveilling.
we keep that, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think we have our hand. We have 3 interaction spells.
Yeah. So let's keep that.
And that'll give us another surveil. It gives us an equipment. It gives us a creature, and it gives us another artifact we can.
Say we have to kill something, and then I think we. I mean, do we at this point, if we were killing something and we're going down on removal a little bit, I almost want to pitch Flare Husk to this now.
Sure.
Right. So let's pitch that.
But you see how Flare Husk is like a card that's good enough in this context to make this an interesting decision.
For sure. Untap. Wow.
Okay.
I think we go Coronation of Chaos.
Yeah.
And
if there's a Gretchen deck or something with 1 creature on the board, we just go to that and 2 other things and just swing full out at that player that can't.
We could also cast Merchant too.
Yeah. Yeah. You can do a lot of stuff.
Coronation, Surveil, keep that on top.
Yeah, that's kind of where we want to be right now.
Goad. And all the while, look at the damage. Turn 2, 5. Turn 3, 5.
Yeah.
Turn 4, 5. It's just ruthless. So this obviously worked out well. This hand is great. We're gonna go
good.
Reckless Impulse on turn 2. So we draw, play DARCY out. I'm so excited. This is dope. So we're not gonna do anything on upkeep here, but we got Immolation, and we can't use it yet. So
yeah, I played the Archer here.
Well, here's a fun thing. Cleansing Wildfire does put a land into our graveyard and replaces itself and puts a land into play again.
That's true.
It's kind of silly.
That way we can hold up the shock half of Galvanic Blast. So it comes in. Oh, it comes in tapped.
Tapped. I think we just play Archer, right?
Yeah.
Just it's kind of a wind up here, and then on upkeep, do we want to be sculpting? I think we have plenty actually. We just kind of want a land right now.
Yeah, honestly, I think casting Bitter Reunion and just filtering something, drawing a couple cards might be worth it.
Yep, Bitter Reunion, trigger. We're going to scry. We want that on top. And we're going to discard.
We have to discard a card too, yeah. Probably that.
Yep, this is the one. Draw 2.
Yep.
We got the Opal Palace. It's gross.
Yep.
We might sack the Bitter Reunion to get this going, right? As an enchantment. Yeah. Let's just do that on end step.
Sure.
Draw.
That's not bad.
We really want to turn on Delirium this turn.
So
Reckless
we
Impulse.
can play any number of things.
Oh, Reckless Impulse doesn't contribute. We need instant.
No, it's a sorcery. Yeah, we could just burn something or cast Immolation. This is where we're kind of priced into trying to remove something.
Yeah, so maybe
if we want to hit Delirium.
Well, the funny thing is, so does Aura doesn't count for this, right?
Or no, it's an enchantment. We already have enchantment, so yeah,
So we
we'd have
need
to
an artifact right
just
now.
shock something.
Yeah, so shock something. Perfect.
Yeah, bin that.
And
It's a
then
creature. Now we have delirium.
yep, delirium,
Right.
and then oh wait, instant. Oh yeah, yeah, we've got delirium. Hey,
Yeah.
and then we go immolation.
Yeah, now we can do that.
Opal
Yeah.
Palace, and we go
So we
one
got a
to
5/1.
well, actually, there's another way to look at this. I wouldn't want to load both of these on, but I do want to cast Reckless Impulse.
Right.
Surveil. I think
That's
we
not.
like a
You can
room.
bin that.
We don't have an
Do we?
artifact.
Because we don't have any artifacts right now.
Yeah, yeah. So bin that, and then exile 2. Okay.
Those are good.
Yeah. And then, and this is of course hitting for 5 right now. It's a 5/1, but I think at this point we like the shiny impetus. Oh, that's interesting. This would have been good with the shiny impetus, but this is also going to be, it would have been exiled, right? So we wouldn't have been able to get the treasure right away. We could even put shiny impetus on the Firebrand Archer, although it is a bit of a removal magnet already. We're kind of at the sweet spot of lands because when they kill our commander, we're going to be able to cast it with Opal Palace and then put the Inferno Fist on it. So I don't really want to. I don't want this to be a land. I want this to be a draw card.
Yeah. So we can just hold. We can just hold stuff up right now, and we can just cycle that on end step. I mean, there's no reason to like. We don't need to do anything really. We can still cycle. We can cast Goldhound, cast Frostbite, and leave up the cycle.
Oh yeah, I forgot about these. Yeah, so we want to cast Goldhound. Probably Frostbite.
Yeah, just bite something. Just
bite it, and then.
Why not?
Tarfire.
You don't need Tarfire.
Don't need Tarfire.
Unless we want the removal spell, but we don't need it.
We don't actually have any removal right now.
Well, we got Inferno Fist, but
Inferno Fist, yeah.
That's what we're gonna draw with the cycle.
The cycle we leave on top of the with this.
Yeah, with the land.
Yeah. I think I actually do.
I guess it's like dependent on what's
happening,
like,
right? If there's a Gretchen player, like I'm gonna want that.
Yep.
And
that's
actually, what we would have done in this case is I think I might have considered tar firing on upkeep.
Yeah.
But I did, knowing that this is here, I wouldn't want to do that because I'd actually, no, you'd want to put it into the yard because you want the next thing. So yeah, tar fire. We're getting triggers out of all this, by the way, which is great. Draw. And then I actually kind of like that 5th land. That means we can cast it 2 more times, right? Yep. Shiny Impetus on Goldhound. I don't know. It's a Menace first strike, 2/2, makes treasures now.
3/3, yeah.
Surveil, Yard, cast Crash Through, Surveil, keep, draw.
Yeah, keep that
Very
one.
good.
Like cashing the Inferno.
And then we're gonna make treasure.
Cashing it whatever for that's gonna be good.
Make a treasure off of Goldhound. And then upkeep, we can't do anything about. Oh, geez, man, Dragon Mantle is actually really cool. I like this card a lot. I didn't think I was gonna like this card, and I think this is great.
Yeah, it does that same thing where it just you get a trigger, it cantrips, and then it just does something.
This deck is so functional. What the hell?
Yeah, every card does a thing. I think you'll find even with this hand with Implement of Combustion, you'll find that it is like a useful card.
Yeah, let's just see how this.
Which is why I like those artifacts in this kind of deck.
Tarfire. I wish I'd been able to surveil that, but so we just play that out. Land? Oh man, yeah, I didn't have it.
Yeah.
So implement Bone Splitter, or
I would implement.
Or actually, we would probably want to get Tarfire. If we do both Tarfire and Bone Splitter, then we're likely to hit Delirium.
That's true. Yeah, let's do that then.
Yeah, so we go implement first.
Okay, so surveil.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, we kind of want this though, as well.
Yeah. So here's where implement is interesting. Do we want to clear the land off top of our library and draw a fresh card on our next turn?
I think we do, because here's what it looks like. We go implement, sack, draw.
And I agree.
Oh, actually,
I agree that we want
this.
Oh, no, you need to surveil at the top. Yeah, that's what we would get. And then we draw Raking Claws on that turn.
And then this turn we go land, Bone Splitter, which is going to surveil, putting sorcery. Yep, That's
I don't think we need that one. Yeah,
well. So
that's
watch,
a good one to surveil, I think, in this situation.
because what we can do is we can go 1-2 Bone Splitter, 1 Tarfire, and then we have it.
Yeah, but now we have
And
delirium.
now this is hitting for 5.
So like this is a good example of why I think the play patterns with those cantrip artifacts are really good.
Yeah.
Because they give you a lot of agency in how you structure your surveils and what you draw.
Yeah.
Like so there we would have been drawing the land rather than the raking clause on our next turn. And this way we get to see an extra card, get a card in our library and a graveyard for delirium, that sort of thing. So it does a lot of different things, but it doesn't read that way. It
No,
reads
right.
like kind of a do nothing, but it just
Draw a
greases
card
the
at any
wheels a lot.
time for 1 mana
Yeah.
on command. It's funny because we have
Yeah.
all these different ways of drawing cards, and they're all kind of like different in a sense. Like you've got cards that ETB draw a card, so you're happy to sack them. You've got cards that ETB draw a card, and then they can sack themselves to draw a card, like Spare Supplies.
Yep.
You've got cards that when you sack them, you draw a card, and it's funny how these cards all just play a different role.
Yeah.
So if we're cutting Coldotha Rebirth, at that point, I have to ask, do we have enough ways to turn on Ichor Wellspring? Because
I mean,
Ichor
honestly,
Wellspring is like 2 mana draw card. It could be Spare
I
Supplies.
mean, I don't even know if I'd cut Coldotha Rebirth, to be honest. It's a 1 mana make 3 things, right? Like the
That's
rate on
really
it
good.
is so high.
It's good enough. Yeah, it's good enough.
I think it's definitely good enough.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right. That's definitely true. I think this deck is ready to go.
It does a lot of stuff. I mean, it's a tough one to wrap your head around, and I think it's got. I think once people are able to take it out for a spin and identify what they respond to in this kind of like smorgasbord of things, you can get a lot of different, very distinct, streamlined, powerful decks out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And paying attention to any card that is in the command zone for 1 mana, I think is a really important heuristic to be paying attention to, in the ability to take a lot more game actions during the course of a game when your commander's coming down on 1. So, and I think what this is exciting for another reason is just that we're, this is like opening up a door for, a card that a lot of people are going to recognize too. Like DARCY is like one of the more iconic Magic cards right now. It's just like cracked in every format it's played in. It's kind of like it's like Third Path Iconoclast a little bit, where it's just like every format it's legal, people are playing this card. And
Exactly.
yeah, so I'm happy with where this is at. I love it. Chat, play this deck. This is sweet.
Yeah, sleeve it up.
Yeah,
give it a shot. See what you
sure.
like and tweak.
Yeah, yeah. No kidding. Well, I think. We got to keep Blood Frenzy too. I'm excited. I wanna.
Yeah.
I wanna do this card. We're never gonna cast it on our own stuff, but like, people like get in for that cheeky damage, and you turn their creature into 4 damage.
Like, I like when we drew those hands, you got to really see like we're not going up on cards a lot, but just like we have so much agency over what we're doing.
Yeah,
it compensates a lot for just like lacking raw card draw.
And then each card that we're putting to the top is also helping us find the next one. It's like chaining a little bit.
Yep.
A question for you. We don't have Flame Rift in here. Are we interested in Flame Rift?
That's one that this is a great Flame Rift deck.
It's a great Flame Rift
deck.
Would
take that. It would take the Blood Frenzy slot for me, if I'm being honest.
Oh, it would.
Yeah, that's what I'd cut for it.
Oh, that's such a brutal.
I think this deck has like one flex salt to taste slot.
One salt to taste slot.
I think that's it.
I think I would consider cutting.
Maybe Spare Supplies.
I like Spare Supplies a lot more than Ichor Wellspring right now, because we have in the whole deck we have Voltage Surge, I think it was.
Because it's not always about just like sacrificing them as soon as you play them. Like having them sit on the battlefield and like turn on Galvanic Blast, for example, like is valuable.
Yeah. I think
so. I think they're both good.
I think Voltage Surge and Ichor Wellspring are both cards that I'm kind of looking at. I think Voltage Surge could be a card that goes face, and that's really appealing to me. We have like Scred, we have Unholy Heat, Flame Slash, all good big.
The reason why I like it a lot is 1 mana spells that deal 4 damage. I think are going to be more relevant because they kill Gretchen, obviously. 4 damage is like important in that regard. But also like this deck because it's a red deck, it's gonna have problems with large creatures, you know, and being able to like kill a big old thing with 2 spells. You'll need 2 spells to do it, but like you'll have 2 spells that can do up to 7 damage, 6 damage, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh boy, we have
it's just,
reckless
you have
abandon.
ability. Yeah, yeah. It's a sorcery, but it's
It also
a lot
goes
of damage.
face. Yeah.
It does.
Um, the other one that I
But
saw here too is dueling rapier. There's another. I didn't realize
yes,
there's
I actually
another.
had that in the deck for a while. I just cut it for space to try some other things, but I like that card a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's tons of things you can do. Tons of
Bullish,
things.
Dark Steel Axe. I'm doing this thing again where I'm like looking back to make sure that there isn't anything
Yeah.
that we've somebody will figure it out if we have missed something really
Yeah. Just fine.
something obvious. So cool. You know what? I think it is time to wrap this one up. This is this is a cool deck, and I'm excited to try and play it sometime here. I've got, like I said, I've got probably all the cards right here to do that, and I'll start play testing it a bit more, goldfishing it, and then hopefully some folks. We've got a lot of people who like mono red in the server, so for those of you out there, make sure to get out there and test this deck, especially an Oxida finisher too. That deck is criminally underplayed. It's not really my kind of deck, so that's why I haven't been playing it a lot, but every time I've played it, I've been impressed, and it's a fun one. So definitely get out and do that.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up here, I do want to again give a huge shout out to the patrons who make this possible. Thank you all for your generous contributions, including you, Derek, who are a patron of the server.
Yeah, thank you.
I did want to illustrate, of course, that we have a lot of really exciting benefits. If you're feeling like you want to contribute, feel like you want to become part of the connoisseur's mission here. It is doing something funky. I just wanted to show everybody the Patreon here. This is our Patreon page. It's just /Common Connoisseurs. And we have levels all the way from like half the cost of a cup of coffee a month, all the way up to more significant levels of support. We have a great middle ground here with the aficionado that gains you access to a whole bunch of really fancy new stuff that I've been making and putting a ton of work into. I'll pull up this right here. This is my Canva account, and these interfaces here, like the one you're seeing, are things you can get access to by becoming a patron. I custom make these, and you can look at them as ways to enjoy your Moxfield playtest experience with your friends a little bit more, or you can look at these ways as building your own channel. And some of you may have heard me say this before, but Clay and I are really eager and interested in enabling more people to produce content in this space for Pauper Commander. This is my favorite format of Magic that is. I don't even play Pauper anymore, and it's really captivated me. And if you too are interested in that and you're looking to build your own channel, this is one of the ways you could do that. We've got anything from how do you have 2 people on the screen with a chat? How do you do it with like a card in this spot here? Those are things I can send you. We've got this one here where if you just want to stream a game, like when I play Dota and I go and stream it, I just play this and I just have, I have my nameplate up there and it's got my webcam, and then I can play and people can see what I'm playing. We also have things like like this right here, where if it's you and another person who are making content, this is another way to get that. And then also, of course, the usual like this, where you have basically a way to show your Twitter or your Moxfield. Like for me personally, or Clay, he has Moxfield and Twitter down at the bottom, and it's just a really good way to show yourself when you're live on camera. So there's that. And then, of course, the other thing, too, if you are interested in becoming a content creator yourself and doing this stuff in this Pauper Commander space, we actually have a part of the Discord that is dedicated to learning and refining our skills with navigating the complex world of YouTube and Twitter and Twitch and all this stuff. And I've been posting my observations there pretty frequently. Data analytics videos that I watched. I watched a great one today that I'm posting right after this that talked about the kind of exactly how the algorithms work on YouTube so that you can navigate the space to the best of its effect. If you're interested, this is a great way to do it, and we'd love to see your support. And with that, Derek, thank you so much for your time today. Once again, as always, it's a complete pleasure working with you.
I always love the decks where you get a little theoretical with, right? So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's theory, but it's also, in some ways, like the theory you and I both bring to this, paired with like the real lived experience of seeing how these games
Yeah.
play out, leads to some really
Yeah, I
spicy
mean,
decks. I mean, this is sweet.
you and I talk about this all the time. It's important to explore, even if decks may not be like cutting edge competitive decks, just exploring the ideas that make them work. Um, because you just learn about how cards function and you're able to
Yeah,
recontextualize things a little bit better. So that when you are brewing on your own, and really what this is a brewing exercise,
yeah,
not like trying to make the next big thing.
yeah,
I think this deck has legs, but that's completely separate.
yeah, yeah, for
It's a
sure.
brewing exercise, right?
Yep.
Like going through the process, seeing what a card does. I think is people have a hard time seeing what cards
Yeah,
do.
like what does the card
Um,
do in context of the
like
deck?
yeah, how a card how a card reads and what a card does are two very different things a lot of the time. Um, and I really think it's valuable to explore decks like Dragon's Rage Channeler, Heritage Druid, um, these kind of weird theoretical decks, very academic decks that kind of challenge how you look at certain cards and see how they function in a practical sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the experience that we're able to deliver here of really getting to see kind of the nitty gritty of like choosing a lane, making those difficult cuts at the end.
Mhm.
Anything from mana bases to the kind of tech you might include, and like, oh, why would you actually play that card? That's all the kind of stuff that I love to be able to deliver to the viewers here.
Yep,
So, okay, so with
for
that,
sure.
I think it's time to sign off. Connoisseurs of Fine Common Cardboard,
Yeah,
I love you so much. Thank you for sticking around, hanging out with Derek and I on this wonderful evening. Hope you're having a great
yeah.
rest of your day, wherever you're living, and we'll catch you on the battlefield. Peace.
Take care. Bye bye.